Chapter 1894. He didn't feel anything. Qing Shan's aura wasn't his aura either. Chen Zhao looked up at the blue sky again. In the vast and boundless sky, he didn't seem to feel anything. What was his aura? It really wasn't that simple. Chen Zhao didn't even have an accurate concept of aura. He couldn't even comprehend the so-called aura. He wasn't good at these streams of consciousness things. He thought of a problem. Yang Guo once said that everything in this world had its own potential. There were living things and dead things. In that case, if someone were to face him, would that person be able to feel the aura from his body? If that was the case, then he had aura. Everything had aura and he shouldn't be an exception. Was the aura that he had the same as the aura he had comprehended? According to this theory, could it be said that aura was like money? Everything in the world had value. As for those who could comprehend power, it was as if they could obtain money from everything in the world. For example, this person was suitable for this industry, and that person was suitable for that business. The comprehension and cultivation of aura was like the accumulation of capital. According to the theory of capital, no one had to do this business. As long as they were willing, anyone could accept any business. Similarly, everyone could choose the aura they liked. Yang Guo, can everyone only comprehend one aura? I've never heard of anyone who can comprehend two auras. You haven't? Or impossible? No. You can only comprehend one aura, but it's like a reflection of your heart, so I don't think a person can comprehend two auras. Is there a price to pay for borrowing aura? Chen Zhao asked. If it's just a little, there's no price, but if you borrow too much, it'll cause serious damage to your body. Chen Zhao thought about it. It wasn't hard to understand. But Chen Zhao still fell into the paradox he'd created. Was there a flaw in the conjecture he had established? Or was there a paradox in Yang Guo's words? After thinking about it, Chen Zhao pushed away his previous hypothesis. He reconstructed a new hypothesis. Actually, spiritualists were very similar to mathematicians. When a hypothesis was established, they would try everything to solve it. They would calculate and deduce the hypothesis from all angles to prove it correct. Chen Zhao thought for a long time and thought of another possibility. It was also based on capital theory. His influence was also money, and so was the influence of others. Borrowing someone else's power was like borrowing a credit card. If he only borrowed a small amount of power and returned it in time, then he wouldn't have to pay any price. Moreover, he could enjoy the pleasure of money in advance. If he borrowed too much power, he would not be able to bear it. This was the time to pay the price. It was like borrowing money from a bank. The longer he borrowed, the more he would pay back, plus the interest. Chen Zhao's thoughts became clearer and clearer. Was his own power equivalent to his own power? No, Chen Zhao suddenly thought of a possibility. How could people borrow power from each other? This kind of borrowing power was very much like the relationship between God and his believers. Believers believed in God, and God lent them strength. Forget it. I still can't completely clear my thoughts. Chen Zhao shook his head and temporarily gave up. Not only did he fail to comprehend it, he even created a new problem. It seemed that borrowing power was not as simple as he had imagined. How about it? Have you given up? Seeing Chen Zhao's gaze, Yang Guo's face was filled with pride. I told you, not everyone can understand it. It's a wise choice for you to give up. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Guo. How long did you use to comprehend borrowing power? Half a month. You used half a month. Before today, I didn't even know what power was. Why do you think I gave up? Why do you think I can't comprehend it? Chen Zhao admitted that borrowing power was not as easy as he had imagined. But it did not mean that he would give up. He only planned to wait until the night was quiet and his heart had calmed down before entering the river diagram to comprehend it. Cultivators of all religions like to go into seclusion. Why did he go into seclusion? It was because seclusion could calm their hearts. Chen Zhao did not plan on giving up so easily. Moreover, he still had a killer weapon, the river diagram. If one day was not enough, then he would do 10. If 10 wasn't enough, then he would do 100. If 100 wasn't enough, then he would do 1,000. Chen Zhao did not believe that he could use 10, 100, or even 1,000 times the time of others to comprehend it. He could not comprehend borrowing power either. At night, this time, Chen Zhao did not fly into the sky to practice. Instead, he entered the river diagram directly. The river diagram was still as beautiful as before. The scenery was as lively as before, but Chen Zhao felt that something was missing. He had not entered the river diagram for a long time. Ever since Old Turtle had ascended to immortality, he had not entered. Things were the same now, but people had changed. The river diagram was still the same, but his old friend was gone. Of course, Chen Zhao was not the kind of person to be sentimental. Although some longing rose in his heart, Chen Zhao's mind had recovered. Chen Zhao began to comprehend and cultivate. Chen Zhao had always wondered if the river diagram was an alternate space or the entrance to a real world. If it was an alternate space, then the river diagram was too big. The space inside the river diagram could even contain Earth and still have some spare space. Therefore, this place should not have anything to do with Earth. Another thing was the time here. An hour had passed outside, but only 3 seconds had passed here. Time was a very special power. Chen Zhao did not even know if time counted as a power. Chen Zhao also knew a lot of powerful people. But Chen Zhao had never heard of anyone who could control time. But Nuwa, an ancient god, could create a world with a completely different flow of time. In any case, this ability was many times stronger than Chen Zhao's. Nevertheless, Nuwa's power was not something Chen Zhao could guess right now. Of course, this also gave Chen Zhao motivation. He could not compare to the ancient god. At least he had a goal to pursue. He was far from the level of a god. He still had a lot of room for improvement. Right now, Chen Zhao's focus was still on borrowing power. If he wanted to borrow someone else's power, he first had to understand where his own power was. It wasn't his own power, nor was it his own magic. Chen Zhao raised his power to the maximum and used all his trump cards. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, this was indeed not easy to comprehend. Chen Zhao racked his brains but still had no idea. Chapter 1895. Chen Zhao had been sitting where he was for 3 days and 3 nights. Chen Zhao had been guessing what the so-called influence was. But each guess was raised again and again. He denied himself again and again. First, influence is related to a person's personality, Chen Zhao muttered to himself. Second, it's affected by emotions. What was related to a person's personality and could be affected by emotions? Spiritual power. Chen Zhao thought about it. Was it spiritual power? However, not everything had mental energy. Chen Zhao suddenly stood up from the ground. No, it wasn't that he didn't have any spiritual power at all. Apart from humans, other things could become demons and gain intelligence. Before transforming into a demon, they would develop intelligence. Even if it was a brush or a blade of grass, it could develop intelligence. So, these things had spiritual power too. If this guess was correct, it was definitely related to spiritual power. But it wasn't pure spiritual power. Chen Zhao had activated 3 keys now. A golden key, a spectral key, and a red key. The spectral key could absorb the souls of enemies of a similar nature. Chen Zhao had absorbed a black dragon's soul before, so his spiritual power was much stronger than normal people's. But Chen Zhao didn't feel anything special about spiritual power. Spiritual power wasn't completely useless to Chen Zhao. But it wasn't very useful to Chen Zhao. First of all, strong spiritual power could increase one's resistance to spiritual spells and illusions. But strong magic could do the same. Also, when he cast spiritual spells, they would be much more powerful. But for this problem, it was the same as the former. The effect of strong magic was more obvious. Moreover, Chen Zhao knew very few spiritual spells. His best spells were Fall to Hell and Banshee's Charm. He could only use them a few times. In an intense battle, spiritual spells couldn't be used much. So, strong spiritual power was useless to Chen Zhao. It was tasteless, but it was a pity to throw it away. But now, if this guess was correct, then spiritual power wouldn't be useless anymore. Chen Zhao slowly rose into the air and looked down at the ground. Below him were green mountains and ethereal clouds. How could he use spiritual power to turn it into influence? Chen Zhao spread his spiritual power out. He mixed in celestial power to see if there would be any changes. Chen Zhao tried, but there was no reaction. His mental energy and immortal energy did not fuse, nor did they reject each other. The two of them were clearly separated, and there was no reaction from each other. Let's try the spiritual chi of heaven and earth again. It was still the same, there was still no reaction. It was not magic power, nor was it spiritual energy. Chen Zhao closed his eyes and his spiritual power continued to spread out. Soon, Chen Zhao's spiritual power covered the entire small world. Just then, the earth, mountains, plants, rivers, and the clouds in the sky seemed to gather toward Chen Zhao's mind. Chen Zhao observed the things that gathered. A dark yellow air current rose from the ground, a green air current rose from the trees, and a blue air current rose from the river. There was also the white stream of air produced by the floating clouds. Chen Zhao clapped his hands. Ah! I understand now. After the colorful air currents gathered, they formed a colorful rainbow-shaped ring above Chen Zhao's head and spread out in circles. Above his head hung a ring of rainbow, like the halo of an angel. Chen Zhao looked up at the halo above his head. He felt a bit sick of it. If he added a pair of wings now, he could disguise himself as an angel. At the same time, Chen Zhao felt everything around him giving him power. It was as if everything was becoming his body. As long as Chen Zhao could bear it, there was no limit to this power. Chen Zhao's mental energy spread in the small world. It was like an amplified signal station, filled with magnetism. It kept sending out some kind of signal, or rather, some kind of rule. Everything within a 10-kilometer radius seemed to be covered by Chen Zhao's mental energy signal. This power absorbed from the mountains, rivers, and everything in nature completely fused into Chen Zhao's body. It also did not conflict with Chen Zhao's yin-yang fish at all. Chen Zhao felt as if this power was his own. So, this was how Yang Guo felt when he used borrowing power. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and pressed his palm down from above. Instantly, Chen Zhao's power merged with the power of the world. A huge palm pressed down like a Buddha's hand. The palm seemed to be real. It was almost 100 meters long. It fell from hundreds of meters in the sky and slammed into the mountain below. With a loud boom, a huge palm print was left on the slope of the mountain. The plants covered by the palm were completely destroyed. Damn, this move is awesome. Chen Zhao couldn't help but exclaim. The power of the world was even stronger than the fished shadows he developed earlier. Just then, Chen Zhao felt his right arm go numb and itchy. Chen Zhao reached out and scratched. With this, he realized that the fifth pristine eyeball on his right arm had opened. Chen Zhao removed the tube. As expected, the fifth pristine eyeball had opened. The fifth pristine eyeball was absorbing the power of the world in Chen Zhao's body. It had the same function as the fourth eye of the thunder, but the type of power it absorbed was different. Then, the fifth pristine eyeball would be called the eye of the world. In short, it was snobbish. After the eye of the general trend absorbed enough of the great trend of heaven and earth, it closed. The power of the world in Chen Zhao's body was still full. Chen Zhao returned the power of the world. The rainbow halo above his head also dissipated. Eye of the world, open. Chen Zhao tried twice and finally succeeded in opening the eye of the world. Once the eye of the world opened, it started pouring the power of the world into Chen Zhao. The amount of power stored in the eye of the world was the same as what Chen Zhao could handle himself. This meant that Chen Zhao didn't need to specially absorb the power of the world around him. If he needed it, he could open the eye of the world and absorb the power of the world from it. The eye of the world could replenish itself. This was different from the eye of the thunder. However, this was because they absorbed different things. The eye of the thunder absorbed lightning. Chen Zhao had to wait for a thunderstorm or run into the high-voltage electric laboratory himself. Otherwise, the eye of the thunder wouldn't be able to absorb it. The eye of the world was different. As long as it was in this world, Chen Zhao could absorb endless power of the world. Chen Zhao started trying the power of the world and the eye of the world again and again. He tried to integrate the power of the world with himself. Chapter 1896. Under the power of the world, Chen Zhao's fist shadows became even stronger. If the fist shadows from before were purely physical attacks, then, after the fist shadow was strengthened by the power of heaven and earth, it had an enchantment effect. However, there was one thing, and that was that the consumption of the worldly power far exceeded the absorption. Even with the help of the eye of the general trend, his absorption speed was only twice as fast as usual. At the same time, their reserves doubled. Chen Zhao had predicted that if he went all out, he would not be able to escape. It would take about an hour for him and the eye of the general trend to completely unleash the world's momentum. In other words, he could only maintain this all-out state for an hour at most. Chen Zhao's physical body did not become stronger after using the power of the world. His strength and speed increased, but there were no qualitative changes. Power of the heavens and earth increased the effect of enchantments. Chen Zhao stayed in the river map for around 3 months before leaving. To the outside world, only 2 hours had passed. Portia was startled. She had thought that Chen Zhao wasn't home, so she asked the kids. The kids didn't know where Chen Zhao had gone either. In the end, Chen Zhao appeared out of nowhere. "Boss, where did you come from? You didn't even say anything. You scared me to death. This is my home. Do I have to report to you where I go?" Chen Zhao rubbed his shoulder. Just then, Yang Guo walked in. When he saw Chen Zhao, he was stunned. Strange, Chen Zhao's aura seemed to have changed after not seeing him for a while. And it became very strange. "Xiao Yang, I have something to talk to you about. Let's talk outside." Yang Guo followed Chen Zhao to the front yard. Yang Guo stared at him. "You look different from before." Chen Zhao opened his right palm. An invisible force gathered in his palm. Yang Guo's pupils constricted. That familiar yet strange aura. Force. Yang Guo stared at Chen Zhao in shock. "You succeeded. How could this be? How did you do it?" Yang Guo's face was filled with disbelief. Previously, he had thought that Chen Zhao couldn't understand borrowing power. At the very least, it wouldn't be that easy to comprehend. However, only 2 hours had passed. Chen Zhao succeeded. Chen Zhao's injuries were clearly different from his. What does your power represent? Yang Gua asked. This is what I wanted to ask you. I seem to be able to absorb all kinds of forces, Chen Zhao said. Mountains, rivers, living beings, oceans, the world. Are you sure? I'm sure. A colorful ball formed in Chen Zhao's palm. Yang Guo looked at him. Do you want to know what your power represents? Of course. Do you want to hear an awesome name? Is my power that awesome? I don't know. I've never seen it before. Then what did you mean before? It means that if you want an awesome name, you can think of one yourself. Everyone's power is different, but generally speaking, they can't escape the 4 forms of wind, forest, fire. What a waste of my feelings. Chen Zhao pouted. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Gua. Will there be any special changes when you use force? Change? What kind of change? Yang Gua asked, is it the change in mana or the change in the body? For example, a phenomenon. Phenomenon. I don't understand. Maybe your force is special. Why don't you demonstrate? Forget it. I'll study it myself. When Chen Zhao absorbed the surrounding force with all his strength, a rainbow halo would appear above his head. Chen Zhao felt awkward, but he didn't want to show it to others easily. Don't go. Why are you like this? You stopped halfway. Are you trying to make things difficult for me? Yang Guo was furious. He could tell from Chen Zhao's tone that something special would happen when he used force. Yang Guo was curious about what was so special about Chen Zhao's force. However, Chen Zhao didn't care about his feelings. This made Yang Guo furious. I'm the one who taught you this. You should at least show some respect for your teacher. Talk to me when you can beat me. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes at Yang Guo. No matter what, I taught you. It's not too much for you to pay me back with interest. Interest? I used half a year to control you for this. Are you sure you want to ask for interest? Forget it, forget it. You're so boring. Yang Guo fled with his tail between his legs. Wait. Chen Zhao suddenly stopped Yang Guo. What? The enemies who want to kill you and that mixed-blood woman are nearby, Chen Zhao said. Where? Halfway up the mountain beside the highway. Why don't you do anything? They didn't enter my territory. That's the border of your territory, right? You know it's the border. That means they're not in my territory yet. So you're just going to let them keep watching? I don't mind. They're not watching me anyway. Grandmaster hired you to protect us. No, not to protect you. I'm protecting you. Is there a difference? I think there is. Protecting you is to be your bodyguard. Protecting you is to give you a place to stay. But there's a time limit to your protection. If you want to extend the time, you can pay a price. What do you want? For example, unique spells and the like. Yang Guo didn't even think about it and directly refused. Chen Zhao could learn how to borrow power in a short 2 to 3 hours. He was definitely very talented. Plus, they were about the same age. He was far more powerful than Chen Zhao. Even among his peers in Dragon Tiger Mountain. Perhaps no one would be able to match him. He was definitely a 1 in a million genius. Yang Guo didn't understand that any peerless master in the world. They weren't the most talented among their peers. Their strength was often due to personal luck. Chen Zhao was that kind of person. Chen Zhao had only been in contact with supernatural powers for a short time. It had only been a little more than 2 years. Chen Zhao's talent wasn't very powerful either. He didn't have the charisma to say that his life was up to him. Even Chen Zhao's own training was haphazard. It wasn't a complete system on the whole. But Chen Zhao's cultivation was extremely solid. Of course, Chen Zhao could have his current strength. It was also related to his way of thinking. Most of the time, Chen Zhao didn't use metaphysical methods to understand cultivation. Instead, he used scientific methods to understand and comprehend. Yang Gui didn't understand. He was still too young. He felt that powerful strength was supported by powerful talent. Dragon Tiger Mountain made him, but it also restricted him. Chen Zhao, on the other hand, had walked a unique path. Chapter 1897. Mr. Fax Ben, what have you been doing for the past 2 days? Xan Li realized that Ruan Faxi had been locking himself in his room for the past 2 days. Xan Li had originally asked Lisa and Mo Air to take a look. Did something happen to Ruan Fax Ben? But the two of them were too lazy to care. They always said that nothing would happen to Ruan Faxi. Ruan Fax Ben finally came out of his room today. However, his face was haggard and his eyes were lifeless. It's all your uncle's fault, Ruan complained. I've been working outside, and he insisted that I create a magic tool. Ruan Faxi could only craft magic tools for 48 hours straight without sleep. Maybe uncle needs it urgently. Xan Li couldn't blame Chen Zhao, who she respected. She instinctively found an excuse for her uncle. This is used to suppress one's aura. Your uncle only needs this thing when he unleashes his full strength. In North America, no one really needs him to unleash his full strength, so this magic tool is not in a hurry. The magic tool itself was not a very complicated magic tool. However, it was troublesome, and there was a certain degree of difficulty in some of the detailed steps. Are you ready? Mr. Farceburn. It's done. I'll go out for a while and send this to your uncle, Ruan said. Mr. Fax Ben, let me help you. You can have a good rest today. Well. All right. Ruan Faxi was happy to relax and handed the ring-shaped magic item to Xan Li. Xan Li took the ring and left the hotel. At this moment, Xan Li's shoulder was bumped by someone who was coming towards her. Xan Li looked up subconsciously. I'm sorry. The man who bumped into her shoulder was wearing a hood. He turned around and glared at Xan Li. Be careful when you walk. After the man left, Xan Li stuck out her tongue. At this moment, the receptionist at the entrance of the hotel walked over and patted Xan Li's shoulder. Miss, your things were stolen by that guy. The greeter was obviously a local and knew some of the gangsters and scoundrels here. However, he was also very careful. After the man left, he walked over to remind Xan Li. Xan Li was stunned for a moment, then she left and searched her body. His wallet, phone, and the ring were gone. Oh no. Xan Li anxiously chased after the man who had left. Stop right there. The man broke into a run. Xan Li was not slow at all. She was a spiritualist to begin with, so her physique was stronger than that of ordinary people. Moreover, when they were at Mingyue Villa, Chen Zhao would give her all sorts of supplements every now and then. Therefore, her physique was much better than that of ordinary spiritualists. However, the thief was also a local bully, so he was not slow to begin with. In addition, he was familiar with the local terrain. Xan Li was unable to catch up immediately. Climb over a wall, jump over a barricade, or crawl into a building. All of these made Xan Li feel strained and troubled. Fortunately, Xan Li's stamina was good. The gun was made of gold. The man stuffed a golden bullet into it. Normal people did not know. Only spiritualists did. Gold had a very powerful anti-magic effect. The golden bullet the man used was specially made to deal with spiritualists. Xan Li's face was also very pale. This guy stole my things. I just wanted to take them back. He's my subordinate, the pale-faced man said coldly. The pale-faced man said coldly, moreover, a spiritualist actually had something stolen by an ordinary person. That can only mean that your ability is inferior. You're unreasonable. Xan Li's face showed an unusual redness. Blood rushed to her head, and she spat out another mouthful of blood. Give me the things and get out of my territory. Chapter 1898. Xan Li knew she couldn't win. She turned around and tried to run. But she couldn't outrun bullets. In a flash, Xan Li's calf was pierced by a golden bullet. With a thud, he rolled on the ground. The pale-faced man took the things Xan Li had just found, ignoring her on the ground. He pulled the thief up and left. Xan Li was just a little girl. She couldn't take it. She didn't make a sound. Her face was covered in tears. She climbed up with difficulty and limped back. Back at the entrance of the hotel, the receptionist saw Xan Li with tears on her face and blood all over her body. She immediately knew something was wrong and ran over to help Xan Li. Xan Li finally couldn't hold back her tears any longer and burst into tears. When Ruan Fax Ben, Lisa, Moore, and Kalon learned that Xan Li was injured, they all exploded. Xan Li's injury wasn't light. They quickly sent her to the hospital. In England, gangs had always been a problem in every city. Everyone asked Xan Li, but she didn't say anything. She just cried. They only learned some things from the receptionist. But they didn't believe a thief could hurt Xan Li. 2 golden bullets were taken from Xan Li's body. Was that something a thief could use? Clearly, the thief knew Xan Li was a spiritualist and purposely attacked her with the golden bullets. Everyone's faces were ugly as they stood outside Xan Li's ward. Xan Li cried until she was tired and fell asleep. She was just a little girl. Her mental endurance wasn't high. Now that she suffered like this, it was easy to imagine how depressed she was. What do we do now? Kalon asked. He didn't know what to do either. Ask the old vampire, Lisa said. We're unfamiliar with this place and don't have any clues, but the old vampire definitely knows. Since he used golden bullets, he's definitely not a low-profile person. It's the right choice to ask him. The key is, how do we tell the president? Ruan Fax Ben said worriedly. If the president knows what happened here, he'll skin us alive. That's why we have to solve this as soon as possible. We need to find the person first and then calm Xan Li down. Lisa was also terrified. I'll call the old vampire. Ruan Faxburn took out his phone and dialed Nagran Vagris's number. My Lord Earl, my companion was attacked in Edinburgh. I want to know if there is anyone in Edinburgh who uses golden bullets. Golden bullet. On the other end of the phone, Nagran Vagris raised an eyebrow. I don't know him, Nagran Vagris said. Ruan Faxi made a judgment based on the hesitation in his reply and the tone of his voice. He knew that the other party knew him, and they might even be related to each other. My lord, I'm sincere, so I hope you can tell us the truth. Ruan tried his best to control himself. I said I don't know him. Besides, I have no obligation to help you. Nagran Vagris said matter-of-factly. When Ruan Fax Ben mentioned the golden bullet, Nagran Vagris knew who they were looking for. That was one of his 7 descendants, Pero Vidal. That was a descendant who had accompanied him for 100 years. To Nagran Vagris, all 7 of them were his children. He couldn't betray his children for a group of outsiders. If that's the case, we can only look for him ourselves. Ruan Faxi's face was livid, and his tone became tough. This is Edinburgh, my territory. I won't allow outsiders to mess around here. But my man was injured here. Then you can only blame yourself for not protecting him well enough, Nagran Vagris said disapprovingly. Nagran Vagris, are you testing the bottom line of our tolerance? Ruan Faxburn's tone was heavy. At this time, he was too lazy to pretend to call Nagran Vagris Lord Earl. He directly called him by his name. Ha! You came to my territory to provoke me, and then you tell me I'm testing your tolerance limit. Don't you all think too highly of yourselves? Nagran Vagris, can I assume that the attacker is related to you, and you're the one who ordered the attacker? Ruan Faxben asked coldly. If that's what you want to think, then there's nothing I can do. Nagran Vagris wasn't affected by Ruan Faxi's threat. Due to your attitude, our cooperation ends here. You'd better leave Edinburgh, or I won't go easy on you. It's impossible to leave. You'd better prepare yourself. We'll go find you, Ruan Faxi said angrily. You want to start a war? As you wish. Nagran Vagris obviously wouldn't back down now. Since he'd already said it, there was no point in saying anything more. Both sides hung up the phone angrily. Ruan Faxaben said, the battle has begun. War. Although Reisa didn't hear Nagran Vagris's words, she could roughly guess the situation from Ruan Faxaben's conversation and his tone of voice. Call on, stay here and protect Exanli. We'll go find the old vampire to settle the score, Ruan Faxi said. I don't want to. I want to join, Kalon immediately shouted. This was the first time he'd been involved in a battle since he became a spiritualist. He wasn't willing to give up. He wanted to participate. Then who's going to protect Exanli? Lisa glanced at Colin. If we start a war with that old vampire, he's likely to attack Exanli again. What if she gets hurt without anyone protecting her? You can stay here and protect Exanli, Colin retorted. We're going to kill. Lisa's gaze was cold. Do you dare to kill? I. Colin finally realized. The battle they'd imagined wasn't the same thing at all. Ruan Faxi, Lisa, and even more weren't going to fight. They were going to kill. They weren't joking. The three in front of them weren't good people. They were all people who had experienced real battlefields. Ruan Faxi patted Colin's shoulder. Colin, you should stay. You definitely don't want to see what we plan to do. Colin finally nodded and didn't say anything. The three of them weren't the kind of people who could swallow insults. Even more, who usually looked like a good kid, had the bloodiest fighting style. Chapter 1899. Li Peiluo, did you attack a girl? Father. Li Peiluo Weeder was stunned. Do you know that girl? That's a problem, Nagran Vagris said. Father, I'll deal with it myself, Li Peiluo Weeder said. Li Peiluo Weeder understood his father. When he thought it was trouble, it was real trouble. Bring your trusted men and all your weapons to my castle. All weapons. All weapons, Nagran Vagris said seriously. Nagran Vagris said solemnly, also, inform your other brothers to join the battle. Nagran Vagris divided Edinburgh into 7 parts, and each descendant received a share. This was why he could control the entire city. Although Nagran Vagris was a vampire, his control over Edinburgh was similar to the Black Hands family-style operation. Then, the children all called to ask about the situation. Nagran Vagris told the children the truth. Nagran Vagris didn't dare to be careless. After all, he had the ability to kill a two-headed ogre deep in the mountains. Of course, this didn't mean Nagran Vagris would back down. This was Edinburgh, his home turf. Earl, there's a group of people outside. They say they're your children, Nala L said as she walked in front of Nagran Vagris. Yes, Li Peiluo is here. Let him in. Nagran Vagris nodded. Oh, I'll give you a day off. Go back first. Boss, I don't need a day off. That's your problem. You can go, Nagran Vagris said with an unquestionable tone. Nala L could only turn and leave. Just then, Li Peiluo Weeder walked over with his men. Nala L glanced at Li Peiluo Weeder. She didn't know the relationship between Li Peiluo Weeder and Nagran Vagris. But they definitely weren't father and son. Nagran Vagris looked like he was only in his 30s. Li Peiluo Weeder looked to be in his 20s. No matter how she looked at them, they couldn't be father and son. Moreover, if they were father and son, why did this person bring so many people here? Li Peiluo Weeder glanced at Nala L. Nala deliberately slowed down her pace and looked back. Pero Weeder entered Nagran Vagris' room. At this moment, Nagran Vagris walked to the door, looked at Nala L outside, and closed the door. Nala L saw Nagran Vagris's actions and could only continue to leave. But at this moment, another group of people arrived. She was a voluptuous, sexy woman, with her hands in her pockets, walking like a cat and chewing bubble gum. This woman was followed by more than 10 other women. When the woman passed by Nala L, she stopped. Is my father here? Father? You mean Count Vagris? He's in that room. Nala was even more curious. She had never heard that he had a child before. But today, 2 people actually appeared. Nala watched as the sexy woman brought a group of women into the room. After that, 7 groups of people actually came. Nala had never seen so many people come to Death Valley Castle. It had never been so lively. There were at least 100 people here. In Death Valley Castle, there were usually only Nagran Vagris and Nala Iyer. Nala suspected that something big was about to happen. Nala deliberately slowed down her pace. When she arrived at the castle gate, half an hour had passed. She wanted to see if there would be more people coming. Nala L waited at the gate for more than 10 minutes. It seemed like no one else would come, she thought. But at this moment, another car came over. But this time, there weren't many people. There was only a small car. When the car arrived at the castle gate, 3 people got out. She knew these 3 people. No, she didn't know them. To be precise, she had only seen them before. The 3 of them had been here twice before. Hi, Miss Nala. You're here for the Count. Yes, we're here for Nagran Vagris. I'll take you to see the Count. Nala L was still worried about not having an excuse to go back. Just then, the 3 people arrived. Nala brought the 3 of them to the door. Knock, knock, come in. Nala brought the 3 of them into the room. At this moment, more than 100 people were standing around. Among them, the 7 leaders were sitting beside Nagran Vagris. Nala L realized that when she came in, the atmosphere changed. The originally slightly noisy room instantly quietened down. Everyone shut their mouths and stared at Ruan Fax Ben, Lisa and more. Nala, didn't I say that today is your business? You can go back first, Nagran Vagris said. Oh, Nala L thought they were doing something. Unfortunately, Nagran Vagris chased him away. You 3 are really bold. You threatened to start a war with me. Why? Can't find anyone. Nagran Vagris looked down at the 3 uninvited guests, his tone somewhat disdainful. Do you think you have the right to make us fight? Ruan Faxben looked at everyone in the room. In the end, his gaze landed on Nagrand Vagris. You think 100 or so people aren't enough? Nagrand Vagris waved his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just then, everyone raised their guns and pointed at Ruan Faxben, Lisa and more. The 100 or so people present were all those who had undergone vampire conversion rituals. However, their rituals were incomplete, so the vampire bloodline was very thin. Only Nagrand Vagris and his 7 children were true vampires. These 100+ people all knew that they could be considered half of the spiritualists. Not enough, Ruan Faxben said indifferently. Both Lisa and Moore were ready for a fight. Looks like you want to die. I'll fulfill your wish. Just then, Nagrand Vagris's phone rang. To be precise, the ringtone wasn't his own phone. Li Peilua Weeder had given it to him after snatching it from Xianli. Hey, Xianli, Chen Zhao's voice came over the phone. Did you forget to call me today? Chapter 1900. Nagrand Vagris listened to the man on the phone muttering to himself. Then he hung up. Chen Zhao saw that the call had been hung up. He dialed Xianli's number again. Xianli, is it inconvenient for you to talk? Are you being held hostage? Is someone beside you? Chen Zhao started to use his imagination. Nagrand Vagris silently hung up the phone again. This time, Chen Zhao didn't call Xianli. Instead, he called Ruan Faxben. When Ruan Faxben saw the caller ID, a thought suddenly popped up in his head. I'm done for. In the instant that the call connected, Ruan Faxben could almost feel the flames of anger erupting from the phone. Ruan, where's Xianli? What happened to her? President. Something happened to Xianli. We're solving the problem now. Ruan Faxben's expression was very ugly. Why didn't Xianli say anything just now? She can't say anything. Is she seriously injured? Or is she being held hostage? She's injured. She's in the hospital. Her phone was stolen. We're negotiating with them now. Negotiating. Fight, Ruan Faxben could only say honestly. Turn on the locator. Ruan Faxben's expression was somewhat stiff. He turned to look at Lisa and Moore. Finally, he looked at Nagrand Vagris. Big trouble is coming. My blood family and I are never afraid of trouble, Nagrand Vagris said expressionlessly. You should be afraid. Hand over the murderer and this will end here. Ruan Faxben's tone became urgent. Don't even think about it. Nagrand Vagris was still determined. Do it. Ruan Faxben shouted. Do it. Nagrand Vagris gave the order at this moment. All of Nagrand Vagris's blood family members opened fire. But there were no flames bursting out of their guns. A bright red energy ball gathered in Reese's palm. This energy ball was full of destructive energy. It's useless to use firearms in front of me. To be precise, these lightweight firearms were useless against Lisa. Nowadays, guns filled the cartridge with gunpowder. The firing pin would cause an explosion and push the bullet out. But Lisa could absorb heat from the environment. Therefore, the guns in their hands were equivalent to scrap metal. It wasn't just the heat emitted by the guns in their hands. Even the temperature in the air had dropped. Lisa casually threw the energy ball in her hand. Dodge! Nagrand Vagris shouted. The energy ball then exploded violently. 4 or 5 vampires were affected and instantly engulfed in flames. Nagrand Vagris was instantly engulfed in anger when he saw his kin being killed. A relative threw himself at Reisa. A shockwave burst out from Lisa's hand. The relative was sent flying by the shockwave. Ruan, Faxben and more were still standing behind him. They had no intention of making a move. Lisa could control the situation here by herself. Another vampire was sent flying by the shockwave. However, this didn't stop the other vampires from moving forward. More vampires' dependents surrounded Risa. Risa placed her palms on the ground, and the shockwave hit the ground, causing it to collapse instantly. Then, all the vampires around her were sent flying by the shockwave. The room that was originally on the castle tower collapsed because of Risa's shockwave. Everyone was sent to the lower floor. Nagran Vagris saw that a little girl was so difficult to deal with. He couldn't help but feel a little solemn. However, this wasn't the time for him to retreat. Nagran Vagris personally entered the fray. Nagran Vagris stretched out his arm and pointed at Risa. A ball of blood seeped out from his arm. A ball of blood shot at Risa. The blood suddenly spread out and enveloped Risa. Risa shouted softly, and a shockwave rippled out from her body. Risa's thermal shockwave wasn't something that could be released with just her hands. The ball of blood was blasted apart. However, the scattered blood turned back and shot at Risa again. Risa wasn't good at dealing with this kind of attack. Her fighting style was to attack, not defend. So, under this concentrated attack, she seemed a little flustered. Risa gave up defending and let the blood droplets hit her body. At this moment, Risa pointed her palms at Nagran Vagris. Boom! Nagran Vagris was sent flying by the shockwave. Nagran Vagris didn't expect Risa to be so difficult to deal with. He actually didn't get the upper hand in the first round. Risa, how's it going? Ruan Faxben asked. Risa was slightly injured, but it wasn't serious. Ruan Faxben handed Risa a bottle of medicine. It's my turn, Moore said, walking up. Ha! Nala L walked to the door. Suddenly, she saw flames shoot out of a window on the castle tower. Her heart skipped a beat. What happened? Did something happen? Nala L didn't know what to do. Just as she was hesitating, she suddenly felt a shadow appear behind her. Nala L turned around and saw a strange Asian man standing behind her. When did this man come? You. Nala L was about to ask. The man ignored Nala L and walked straight into the castle. Wait. Wait. Nala L wanted to pull him. But when he stretched out his hand, he grabbed nothing but air. Nala L sped up and ran to him. Stop right there. Who are you? Chen Zhao looked down at Nala L. Tour. This is private land, Nala L said seriously. Really? Whose land? Chen Zhao didn't stop. Stop. This is Earl Nagran Vagris's property. He's a big noble. Really? I'm here for him. Nala L clearly didn't believe him. Stop or I'll call the police, Nala L threatened, taking out her phone. Chen Zhao reached out and crushed the phone in Nala L's hand. Chen Zhao glanced at Nala L indifferently. Sorry, I wasn't careful. Nala L stared at him in shock. Chen Zhao clearly didn't have good intentions. She couldn't stop him at all. Chen Zhao walked forward as if there was no one around. Boom! Just then, another violent explosion sounded in front of them. Chapter 1901. Chen Zhao stood up and glanced at Nala. Miss, it's not suitable for you to appear here. What exactly do you want? Nala, I told you not to appear here today. Don't you understand? Count, now. Leave this place, Nagran Vargas scolded. Nala had no idea what was going on here. Chen Zhao walked up to Ruan and the other two. Who hurt Xanli? The three all lowered their heads. In the end, Ruan was the one who said, I don't know. Anyway, it was that guy. Nagrand Vagras's face was cold. He didn't retort. He couldn't stay out of this anymore. Chen Zhao turned to look at Nagrand Vagras. The next moment, Chen Zhao suddenly appeared before Nagrand Vagras. Before Nagrand Vagras could react, Chen Zhao had already grabbed his neck. His entire body was lifted into the air. Nagrand Vagras couldn't fight back at all before Chen Zhao. Bang! Chen Zhao pinched a golden bullet between his fingers. President, it's him. When Ruan saw the golden bullet between Chen Zhao's fingers, he immediately locked onto Li Peilua Weeder. Put our father down. All of Nagrand Vagras's family members charged at Chen Zhao with a furious roar. Chen Zhao swung his fist and a dozen family members along the way were instantly turned into ashes. No! Nagrand Vagras roared. Nagrand Vagras suddenly turned into a puddle of blood and escaped from Chen Zhao's hand. Chen Zhao glanced at Nagrand Vagras, who'd returned to his original form. By now, Nala was already dumbfounded. What exactly was going on? Hand over the murderer, Ruan Faxburn said. Ruan knew that after Chen Zhao arrived, things wouldn't end peacefully. He spoke up now, hoping to give Nagrand Vagras a way out. Do you think you can make me yield like this? Nagrand Vagras's attitude was uncharacteristically resolute. Nagrand Vagras suddenly reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Then, he tore his left shoulder off with force. Fresh blood gushed out from the wound and gathered into a puddle on the ground. The blood seemed to have a life of its own as it flowed on the ground and seeped into the ground. Then, the ground shook heavily. Guild leader, there seems to be something down there. I know, I feel it. If Ruan Faxi could feel it, how could Chen Zhao not? At this moment, the ground began to collapse. First, it was the stones and bricks that were originally laid on the ground, and then the buildings on top of them. Everyone kept retreating, and the ground collapsed more and more, almost covering half of the castle. The pit was bottomless, like a bottomless abyss. At this moment, a terrifying suction force suddenly came from the bottomless abyss. Everyone began to be uncontrollably sucked into the bottomless abyss. Even Nagrand Vagras, the instigator, could not resist this attraction. Only Chen Zhao stood where he was without moving, watching them get sucked into the bottomless abyss one by one. President, Ruan Faxi originally wanted to ask Chen Zhao for help. In the end, Chen Zhao ignored him. He just stood there and watched the three of them get sucked down. He immediately understood that Chen Zhao was angry at the three of them. Only when everyone was sucked into the bottomless abyss did Chen Zhao jump in. There was a deep pool at the bottom of the abyss. It was about a few hundred meters from the ground. The suction force lasted for a few seconds, and then it turned into an upward current. It was as if something was breathing down there, moving up and down continuously. Nagrand Vagras had grabbed Nala Iyer, which was why she'd been able to survive when she fell into the pool. Of course, it was also fortunate that there were intermittent upward currents. Only then did the falling slow down. Nagrand Vagras picked up the drowning Nala L and turned to look in another direction. He saw Ruan Faxi, Lisa, and more crazily swimming to the shore. Hurry to the shore. Nagrand Vagras had a bad feeling. There were many holes around the abyss. The airflow was flowing through these holes. At that moment, the pool suddenly exploded, and a huge snake head drilled out of the pool. The snake's body above the water was dozens of meters long. Its head was as big as a plane's. The moment the bloody mouth broke the surface of the water, more than a dozen members of the clan were swallowed into its mouth. Nala Iyer had never seen something like this before. Even the others hadn't seen it before. And Nagran Vagris knew what was down there. But it was also his first time seeing this snake. Whoosh! Suddenly, a beam of light pierced down from above. The beam of light passed through the serpent's mouth, and then the serpent, along with its huge body, exploded. The broken parts of the snake's body sank into the deep pool. Everyone was shocked. They stared at Chen Zhao, who was floating above the pool, in disbelief. Just then, snake heads started burrowing out of the surrounding caves. Every head was the same as the one Chen Zhao had killed earlier. There were at least 100 of them. They all opened their bloody mouths and hissed at Chen Zhao. 100-headed snake. All the heads of the snake stared at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao looked at them from afar. Chen Zhao didn't expect such a monster to be hiding here. Neither side immediately launched an attack. They were evaluating each other's strength. From this, it could be seen that the snake wasn't a mindless monster. Once it thought it could defeat Chen Zhao, it would attack immediately. The snake was very strong, but Chen Zhao could handle it in his normal state. Nagran Vagris stared at both sides. He was the only one who knew the snake's background. He became a vampire largely because of the 100-headed serpent. When he undid the seal on the 100-headed serpent, he had the thought that everyone would die together. But after releasing it, he regretted it. He felt that he'd been too rash. Finally, the 100-headed snake attacked Chen Zhao. Plop! A huge snake head was chopped off and fell into the pool. When the head landed, it immediately created a huge wave. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This man could actually chop off a snake's head in an instant against such a monster? Nagran Vagris was even more shocked. Where did this man come from? Chapter 1902. Nagran Vagris knew the origin of the 100-headed serpent. The 100-headed serpent had once wreaked havoc in England before the first year of the Common Era. At that time, England had been called the Island of Monsters. No one in Europe dared to cross the English Channel, much less land in England. Legend had it that giants and monsters lived there. It was even used as a place of exile for Europe. The French used it as a place of exile for criminals. However, most criminals couldn't even cross the English Channel and ended up in fish stomachs. It wasn't until explorers truly landed there that they realized that the people living there were indeed savages. The deeper they explored, the more they realized how terrifying this place was. However, no matter how terrifying a place was, it couldn't stop humans' desires. More and more humans occupied the island of monsters. The 100-headed serpent was the king of monsters. It breathed fog and covered a large area, protecting its people. At the same time, it saw humans as food. The war between humans and monsters finally unfolded. The result was obvious. Humans won. The 100-headed serpent led its monster army and hid in the forests of Scotland. However, humans didn't stop because of this. Humans continued to expand toward all lands that were suitable for living. The war started again. It was still the humans who emerged victorious. This time, the 100-headed serpent's monster army was almost completely wiped out. The rest were also scattered and fled deeper into the forest. The 100-headed serpent was sealed. Humans built a castle on the seal of the 100-headed serpent. It was Death Valley Castle. Of course, Death Valley Castle wasn't called that back then. Vagris was the oldest noble family in England. This was because his family had always guarded this castle and shouldered the responsibility of watching over it. In the end, people had even forgotten the meaning of this family's existence. However, the people in his family still kept their previous vows. This was also why Nagran Vagris was shocked by Chen Zhao. A human who could fight against the king of monsters. In the ancient documents kept by the Vagris family, there were records of the two wars between humans and the king of monsters. Many of the documents described how terrifying the king of monsters was. In fact, during the Second War, rather than defeating the king of monsters, it was more accurate to say that he had schemed against it. The so-called seal was actually to make it sleep. While it was sleeping, he built a castle on top of its head. At that time, there was no existence in Europe that could rival the king of monsters. At that time, the spiritual world in Europe was far less prosperous and active than it was today. The 100 heads of the 100-headed snake attacked Chen Zhao wildly. Chen Zhao punched one after another, continuously shattering the snake's heads. However, even if its head was chopped off or shattered, it could still regrow in the blink of an eye. It had an almost inexhaustible life force. Flesh and blood rained down from the sky. Everyone was amazed by this earth-shattering battle. Neither side seemed to be able to do anything to the other. Nagrand Vagris looked at Ruan Fassbender, Lisa and more. The three of them huddled together, seemingly not worried about the outcome at all, as if they were discussing something. F.A. Shibin explained to the president later. Why do I have to explain? Why don't you go? Because you're the oldest and we're all underage. You're not embarrassed to ask us to face the president? Why? I'm old. You should think about me too. Anyway, the president spoils you kids a lot. You're more suitable than me. I don't want to, Lisa rejected immediately. The president almost killed me back then. Then let's play rock paper scissors, Ruan Fassbender said. Whoever said it has to explain. Sure, Mo Air agreed. Moore was still too young. He didn't see Lisa and Ruan Fassbender exchange glances. In the end, they left without saying anything. Moore had a long face. How about 2 out of 3? What do you think? While they were chatting casually, Nagrand Vagris and his family members were frightened out of their wits. The battle between Chen Zhao and the 100-headed snake was too intense. It was completely beyond their imagination. Chen Zhao was scary, but the 100-headed snake was even scarier. No matter how many heads Chen Zhao killed, the 100-headed snake could regrow instantly. To Nagrand Vagris, if this continued, Chen Zhao would run out of energy sooner or later. By then, the situation would definitely be reversed. Nagrand Vagris didn't know whether he wanted Chen Zhao to win or the 100-headed snake to win. Chen Zhao didn't believe that the 100-headed snake could always grow heads. There was no such thing as immortality in the world. Chen Zhao had only killed 1,000 heads of the 100-headed snake. Basically, he'd cut off 10 heads on each neck. But the 100-headed snake still didn't run out of energy. The heads continued to grow. Chen Zhao was getting tired of it. He suddenly sped up and charged into the mouth of a head. To Nagrand Vagris, it looked like Chen Zhao was swallowed by the head. Chen Zhao forcefully charged into the 100-headed snake's esophagus. Chen Zhao wanted to see what the 100-headed snake's body looked like. But halfway through, Chen Zhao realized that the 100-headed snake's body started turning into rock. More accurately, the body of a snake grew out of the rock. All the snake's bodies were connected to a rock that was hundreds of meters wide. The 100-headed snake should have been sealed here in ancient times. Could it have been sealed for too long and turned into a fossil? Chen Zhao broke out of the snake's stomach. Of course, this was just Chen Zhao's imagination running wild. As long as a creature was still alive, its cells would be active. It wouldn't turn into a fossil for no reason. By then, the other snake heads had retracted too. They attacked Chen Zhao even more crazily. Right now, Chen Zhao was more interested in the rock that had fused with the 100-headed snake. He wasn't interested in fighting the 100-headed snake anymore. Chen Zhao took out his black trident and stabbed it at the place where the 100-headed snake and the rock were connected. The 100-headed snake's body started shrinking rapidly. As expected, the black trident had never disappointed Chen Zhao when it came to killing creatures with strong recovery abilities. Chen Zhao grabbed the rock that weighed hundreds of thousands of tons and put it away. He would study it later. Chen Zhao walked out of the cave. He glanced at Ruan Faxben, Risa, and more, then his gaze fell on Nagran Vagris and his kin. President, the culprit is already dead. I think it's about time. They've been punished. Ruan Faxben kicked the corpse in front of him. It was Lepero Weeder's body. Chapter 1903. Chen Zhao looked at them and then at the corpses on the ground. Without saying anything, he flew out of the pit. Dozens of people stared at each other. Chen Zhao knew that Ruan Faxi wanted him to let these people go. Chen Zhao was just using this as an excuse. He didn't kill them all. But this didn't mean that Chen Zhao could calm down. Lepero Weeder had sacrificed himself. His act of self-sacrifice in order to protect his compatriots might seem noble to them. But it didn't mean that Chen Zhao would pity him. He was the one who had caused all of this. Of course he should be punished. Ruan Faxben glanced at Nagran Vagris. Take us out. Don't tell me there's no way out. Nagran Vagris silently led the way and didn't say anything along the way. His relatives followed behind him. They were also quiet. Ruan Faxi, Lisa, and more didn't care about their feelings. They were still chatting happily. They also knew that their relationship with Nagran Vagris wasn't the same as before. In the past, they weren't that good, but they could at least pretend to be polite. But now, they didn't even pretend to be polite anymore. Both sides had extremely bad impressions of each other. Nagran Vagris was just angry but didn't dare to say anything. He watched as his own son sacrificed himself to protect the entire clan. This was a huge blow to him. But he couldn't do anything. The power that Chen Zhao had displayed was too terrifying. No wonder Ruan and the others had said that the person behind them could talk to 23rd Blood Mary and Zhang Tianyi on equal terms. When Ruan and the others returned to the hospital, they saw Chen Zhao standing outside Xian Li's room, waiting for them. President, did you go see Xian Li? No, Chen Zhao said. Don't tell her that I didn't interfere. Just pretend that I never came and that I don't know anything. Why do that? If she knows that I interfered, she'll only feel more defeated. Okay, I understand. Ruan Faxben handed Chen Zhao a ring. This was a magic tool that he'd made. He'd just gotten it from Nagran Vagris. Okay, I'm going back. Ah. President. You're going back just like that. What else? What do you want from me? Punish you. The expressions of the three of them were unnatural. Risa and more silently cursed Ruan Faxi for being a busybody. Not really. Ruan Faxben's expression was a little stiff. It's okay. Everyone has inconveniences in the outside world. I can understand. Ah. Thank you, President. The three were overjoyed. All the debts will be settled after we return. I won't punish you for now. In the next moment, the three of them fell into despair. After saying a few words to the three, Chen Zhao turned and left. As soon as Chen Zhao left, Colon opened the door. Mr. Faxben, Lisa, Moore, you're back. Who were you talking to? It's nothing. How is Xian Li doing? He's just a little depressed. Everything else is fine. His injuries haven't worsened. Chen Zhao returned to Moon Villa. It was only 3 in the morning in Los Angeles. Chen Zhao realized that Yanghua and Lily were still awake. In the front yard, Yanghua and Lily suddenly saw Chen Zhao descend from the sky. They all jumped in fright, wondering who it was. "You're still awake." Chen Zhao looked at them. "You're awake too. Where did you go?" Yanghua drank a mouthful of beer. "Would you believe me if I told you I went to England? It's more than 8,000 kilometers from here." Yanggua's tone clearly indicated that he didn't believe Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao shrugged. Unless he flew with him, Yanghua wouldn't believe him. "Oh, do you know what this is?" Chen Zhao took out a piece of stone the size of a finger. At first, Yanghua thought it was a normal stone. However, after turning it over and over in his hand, he discovered that this finger-sized stone carried a special aura. It contained some kind of energy, but he couldn't tell what it was. "Where did you get this?" Yanghua asked. "I picked it up. Can I send it back to Dragon Tiger Mountain? Perhaps the elders of Mount Longhu will be able to tell." "Sure, take it." Yanghua didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so easy to talk to. Just then, the butler system suddenly sounded an alarm. "Master, 2 unidentified people are approaching Mingyue Villa." With that, the butler system projected a surveillance image on the wall. Lily and Yanghua stood up abruptly. "It's them." "You're the 2 of them?" "Yes. It's them," Lily said without hesitation. Mingyue Villa didn't have a front door. There were only a few mechanical blocks. If no one went to stop them, they couldn't stop them. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't plan on stopping them. "Chen Zhao, what do we do?" "Fight. What's there to hesitate about?" "Are you sure? These 2 people are quite strong. Don't you have confidence in me? They're not weak, after all." Chen Zhao didn't refute Yanggua's doubts. By then, Beast and Spirit Fox had arrived at Mingyue Villa and the front yard. With the holy spear in his hand, Beast glanced at Chen Zhao, who was lying on the bench with his legs crossed. He then shifted his gaze to Lily and Yanghua. At this moment, Yanghua and Lily were ready for battle. Beast and Spirit Fox saw that Chen Zhao was still sitting there without moving. They thought that Chen Zhao didn't plan on interfering. If Chen Zhao didn't interfere, it would save them a lot of trouble. Chen Zhao had been lying down lazily, but when he saw the spear in Beast's hand, he raised an eyebrow and stood up. "Let me see that thing." Chen Zhao curled his finger. Chen Zhao actually really wanted to borrow it to take a look. But to Beast and Spirit Fox, it sounded like Chen Zhao was provoking them. Without hesitation, Beast raised the spear and pointed it at Chen Zhao. "If you want to stop God's will, you should accept God's punishment." Chen Zhao listened to Beast's tone. Why did it sound like a madman who'd been brainwashed by religion? "I want to ask, how do you want to punish me?" "With the holy spear, of course." Beast raised the spear and shot it at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao raised his palm and blocked the spear's trajectory. But just then, Chen Zhao's palm was pierced. Chapter 1904. Everyone was stunned, including Chen Zhao. What was this? It could actually hurt him. After piercing through Chen Zhao's palm, Beast waved his hand. Beast waved his hand. Chen Zhao felt a suction force appear on the holy spear that had pierced through his hand. It was about to leave his hand. Chen Zhao grabbed the holy spear in his hand. The spear kept vibrating in Chen Zhao's hand, fighting against Chen Zhao's power. "Come back!" Beast roared. The spear resisted even more fiercely. Chen Zhao looked at his pierced right palm. His right palm recovered very slowly. It was almost as fast as a normal person. In the wound, there was a power that was organizing his own immortal power to heal the wound. Chen Zhao channeled more immortal power. If the power didn't force the wound out, it wouldn't heal at all. Get out. Chen Zhao tried his best to force the power out of the wound. The power wasn't weak indeed. But Chen Zhao's body was his home field, after all. How could Chen Zhao lose to an ownerless power in his home field? A black ball of energy shot out from the wound on Chen Zhao's palm. This mass of energy was enormous. After hovering in the air for a while, it suddenly charged at the spear. After Chen Zhao forced the black ball of energy out of the wound, it healed immediately. At the same time, the spear resisted even more fiercely. It also emitted a scorching heat. If a normal person held it, they would probably fall out in the blink of an eye. Giant spirit transformation, dark assimilation, body double, all techniques returned to one. Chen Zhao entered his complete form. Chen Zhao had already put on the ring that hid his aura. So, Chen Zhao only looked like his form had changed, but his aura wasn't leaked. Beast and Spirit Fox were very anxious. This had never happened before. They couldn't retrieve the spear. This had never happened before. By now, the spear had turned crimson in Chen Zhao's hand. It was like a red-hot soldering iron. But Chen Zhao still held it tightly. The spear started growing bigger and heavier. Chen Zhao didn't hold back anymore. He increased his grip on the spear to the maximum. The part of the spear that he held started cracking. Beast and Spirit Fox's expressions changed drastically when they saw this. They attacked Chen Zhao directly. Chen Zhao lifted his foot and the beast was kicked into the air. He then raised his right arm and aimed it at the beast. A white light shot out. When the wild beast landed on the ground, it was already charred. It couldn't be any more dead. The beast's corpse released a black energy that returned to the sacred spear. The spirit fox held two swords and slashed at Chen Zhao's thigh. However, the spirit fox's twin swords were broken. Chen Zhao lifted his foot and stomped down. The spirit fox was also crushed into meat paste. Yang Guo's expression was unnatural, and Lei covered her mouth. The two people who had been chasing them were actually defeated and killed by Chen Zhao just like that. The entire process was too easy and casual. It was so casual that they couldn't believe it. The spirit fox's corpse also released a wave of black energy and returned to the sacred spear. Chen Zhao focused more on the holy spear in his hand. The power of this weapon was unparalleled. He couldn't even control it. If you continue to cause trouble, I'll destroy you. By now, Chen Zhao had gone all out. Rainbow halos appeared above his head. Yang Guo raised an eyebrow. He couldn't sense Chen Zhao's aura. He couldn't feel Chen Zhao's aura, but he could still feel it when Chen Zhao used force. Chen Zhao's body was enveloped by the tremendous force of the world. Once Chen Zhao used the force of the world, the sacred spear resisted even more fiercely. Chen Zhao's power was incompatible with the sacred spear's own power. They were like fire and water. The sacred spear had already turned crimson. Even Chen Zhao's fist, which was holding the spear, had turned red. Crack, a piece of his hand had already cracked. Cracks also started spreading from the broken part. Just then, Chen Zhao's right hand also grabbed the sacred spear. The sacred spear started to bend and change shape. Stop! Stop! Just then, the sacred spear suddenly made a sound. The sound was filled with panic and impatience. Yang Guo and Lei both looked at Chen Zhao and the sacred spear in shock. Who are you? Chen Zhao didn't retract his power. He still used the same strength to bend the sacred spear. If Chen Zhao increased his strength by 10%, he could completely break the sacred spear. Tagoya Abbey. Chen Zhao turned his head and looked at Yang Guo. Have you heard of this name? No. Yang Guo also didn't know. Tagoya, the ruler of the old days, Lei said. He's the famous exploder in the Cthulhu mythos. He symbolizes fire and is a third-tier existence in the Cthulhu mythos. Yang Guo looked at Lei in surprise, because he knew that Lei hadn't come into contact with the spiritual world. He shouldn't be too familiar with the matters of the spirit world. How did she know this name? Lei, how do you know? Yang Guo asked. I'm the author of the Cthulhu mythos, Lei said. I've already published 2 books related to the Cthulhu mythos. Why are you hunting her? Chen Zhao asked. Because she's a snitch. Because she's a snitch, Tagoya Abbey said. Katugia Abbey said, what she wrote is leaking our plans. Chen Zhao and Yang Guo exchanged glances. Then Chen Zhao asked, what plan? I don't know. You won't be scared if I don't teach you a lesson, right? Chen Zhao increased his strength. The Holy Lance's arc was already huge. It looked like it was about to break. I really don't know. My mission is to kill all the snitches. Who gave you the mission? I don't know. You're too perfunctory. Chen Zhao sounded displeased. It must be my superiors. I submit to them. They can communicate with me mentally, but I can't read their thoughts. Then tell me your plan. What are you going to do? At first, I attached myself to a human body, but I realized that a human body couldn't sustain my power, so I had my believer make this gun. Then I attached myself to this gun and started looking for snitches like this woman. In 1,000 years, I've been in the hands of many humans and killed one snitch after another. 1,000 years. You've existed in this world for 1,000 years. 1,000 years is just an instant to me. My time is far beyond what you humans can imagine. The Cthulhu mythos only appeared in the last century, right? Chen Zhao asked, confused. No, the Cthulhu mythos only became famous in the last century. Actually, the original author, Howard Philip Lovecraft, wrote it after consulting many ancient documents. Rumor has it that Howard Philip Lovecraft was influenced by something unspeakable. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 1905. What's your original body like? Chen Zhao was curious. If I destroy the spear, will you come out? Tagoya Abbey fell silent. The great old ones can't appear in the modern world, Lei said. At least not in the setting. Chen Zhao could feel the mysterious murderous intent from the spear. Clearly, Lei had hit Katugia Abbey's sore spot. What if it appears in the modern world? Chen Zhao asked. Obliterate, Lei said. The murderous intent on the spear intensified. So, if I destroy the spear, this guy will lose his protection and be obliterated. Yang Guo looked at Lei in confusion. How do you know? I just know. It seems like the setting should be like this. Lei was also confused. Just then, Samuel jumped onto Chen Zhao's shoulder. This guy is the god of fire element among the unusual gods. Chen Zhao was surprised. He's an unusual god. Like the unusual gods I've met before. Yes, but he's just a bit stronger. Then why can those from the past appear in their original bodies, but this guy can't? Just like how we demons from hell can't appear in the modern world, but it's not an absolute restriction. In fact, only the great lords will receive absolute punishment. Those below that will at most be suppressed. The unusual gods also come from hell. No, they come from another world, Samuel said disapprovingly. They think they're strong and want to take over hell. In the end, they're all kept in hell and treated as pigs by us. But I have to admit that they taste really good. Yang Guo and Lily couldn't understand the conversation between Chen Zhao and Samuel. Chen Zhao's language was already hard to understand, while Samuel was meowing. But they could clearly tell that Chen Zhao was talking to the little kitten. So, do you know his intentions? It's nothing more than these ancient gods wanting to develop some believers, or search for some possibility of descending. However, some prophets learned of their existence in advance, and then leaked their information, and even their plans. This guy called Kitijia Abbey, to put it bluntly, is an assassin sent by the ancient gods. She's a prophet. Chen Zhao glanced at Lily. A complete world will always have all kinds of rules. However, no matter how complete a world is, there will always be some loopholes in the rules. Prophets exist to make up for these loopholes. It's just like computer repair software. It's not a big deal. There are thousands of prophets in the world, all kinds of prophets and all kinds of loopholes. If all the otherworldling gods descend, won't Earth be in danger? What danger? Your current strength is more than enough to deal with it. The most powerful otherworldly god will never descend, just like how the demon king of hell will never descend. Even if you don't do anything, the otherworldly gods can't rule the world. Samuel landed on the spear. Give this to me. I don't have this breed in my ranch. Kitijia Abbey couldn't understand their conversation. However, he could clearly feel a strong sense of malice. How are you going to get it back? By mail? No need. Use all your strength to throw him into space. I'll retrieve him myself, Samuel said. Thrown into outer space. Are you serious? It's too difficult to use my real body's power in the modern world, but I can leave it. Fine. Chen Zhao gripped the spear tightly. What are you doing? What are you going to do to me? Kitijia Abbey screamed in fear. He seemed to have sensed something. Chen Zhao took 2 steps back with the spear. Then he sprinted. The airflow caused by Chen Zhao's sprinting made Yang Guo and Lily lose their balance. The airflow was too strong. After sprinting more than 10 meters, Chen Zhao increased his strength to the maximum. The spear flew out of his hand in an instant. Bang! The spear broke through 100 times the speed of sound and pierced through the clouds under the night sky. It was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it was tens of thousands of meters in the sky. Chen Zhao had thrown it with tens of millions of tons of force. The speed was unimaginable. No aircraft in the world could compare to this speed. Yang Guo and Lily's mouths were agape as they watched the long spear disappear into the night. In 2 minutes, it had surpassed the International Space Station. In 3 minutes, it had left low Earth orbit. With Chen Zhao's strength, the spear also disappeared after leaving low Earth orbit. In the end, it disappeared into the void. Perhaps a human device had found the spear. But because the spear had gone too fast, there was no time to monitor it. How can you give it up so easily? That spear should be a powerful weapon, right? Yang Guo looked at Chen Zhao, confused. I have something better, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Why do I need the spear? You can give it to me even if you don't want it. I'm happy to accept it. Then go get it. Yang Guo was speechless. If the spear was on Dragon Tiger Mountain, it could probably be their trump card. Okay, Chen Zhao said. You're not a threat anymore. You can leave now. That's not nice of you. Why are you in such a hurry to chase away guests? You two are troublemakers. If I don't chase you away, would I keep you for New Year? But it's 3 a.m. Then leave tomorrow morning. Oh, don't forget our bet. In half a year, you have to come whenever I call you. Chen Zhao hadn't forgotten their bet. Thinking of it, Yang Guo felt a toothache. Why was he so stupid back then? Why did he bet with Chen Zhao? In the end, he'd fallen into a trap himself. He wanted to go back on his word, but when he thought of Chen Zhao's terrifying power, he gave up on the idea. If Chen Zhao could shoot a spear into outer space, he could probably shoot people into outer space too. Just think about what would happen if he angered Chen Zhao. If Chen Zhao threw himself into outer space, it would feel scarily good. Then, the two returned to their rooms to pack. In the morning, the two of them carried their luggage and left. Yang Guo kept complaining that Chen Zhao didn't know how to treat guests. On the other hand, Chen Zhao completely treated them as jinxes. Chen, why did Lily and Yang leave? They left if there's nothing else. Otherwise, how long do you think they should stay here? Okay, they don't look like bad people. They're not bad, but they're very troublesome. Chapter 1906. Boss. Portia was here for breakfast again. Take care of the house, Chen Zhao said. I have something to do in the morning. Chen, where are you going in the morning? West and the others are going to Africa, Chen Zhao said. I'm taking them to the airport. When Chen Zhao arrived at the headquarters, the luggage of 20 to 30 people filled up 2 trucks. There was no one in Chen Zhao's MPV. It was filled with luggage. Chen Zhao increasingly felt that he should get a private plane. West sat in the front passenger seat. President, I heard something happened to Xianli in Edinburgh. Yes, something happened. Chen Zhao nodded. I'll pretend that I don't know. I don't want to hurt her confidence. Chen Zhao also understood that it was impossible for someone to be completely fine outside. Moreover, there was a certain degree of danger in the spirit world. You couldn't blame Ruan Faxburn, Rissa, and more. After all, they weren't real nannies and bodyguards. They couldn't watch Xianli all the time. If Xianli was called back because of something like this, Xianli would probably be traumatized for the rest of her life. Is there any news from the government? Not at the moment. West shook his head. This matter might not fall on us. Any news from the psionic team? No, they've been very obedient recently. They're just developing themselves quietly. Developing. Expanding. Chen Zhao and West had talked about the development of the supernatural organization. In the end, they decided that expanding wasn't a good choice. If there were too many people, there would be conflicts between factions. Most people in the organization didn't like to play politics. Even Chen Zhao didn't understand politics. So, rather than being disloyal when there were too many people, it was better to take the path of fewer people. Having more people was never a problem. Chen Zhao and West hoped that there were more people. The more people there were, the messier it would be. The more people there were, the easier it would be for them to sneak in. Chen Zhao sent them to the airport. He saw Yang Guo and Lily. Looking at their big and small bags, they seemed to be going far away. Yang, where are you going? Back home, Yang Guo said unhappily. Back home? For what? What do you mean? Do I need your permission to go back home? What do you think? Chen Zhao smiled at Yang Guo. Yang Guo's face kept twitching. I'll send Lei to Mount Longhu, Yang Guo said after adjusting his tone. She can go to China, but you can't, at least not for the next 6 months. Why? Although I lost the bet to you, I didn't sell myself. No, you did sell yourself. Chen Zhao shook his head. It's not safe for a woman to go to a strange place. Huaxia is the safest place in the world. Why would it be unsafe? It's not like we're sending her to some battlefield. I'll go back to Los Angeles soon. If you don't come back, I can still go to Dragon Tiger Mountain to catch you, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. You're not allowed to go. How can you be like this? Do you believe that I can make you run 3 laps around the airport naked? Just trust me, okay? Not good. Yang Guo felt a wave of helplessness. Why was he so unlucky? He had just left Chen Zhao's place in the morning, and now he was at the airport again. To be honest, he really wanted to go back to China. As long as he hid in the country, Chen Zhao wouldn't be able to find him no matter how powerful he was. Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Yang Guo. In the end, there was no response. Wow, you even changed your phone number and you're not planning to run away. Chen Zhao glared at Yang Guo with a dark expression. This was awkward. Yang Guo twitched his lips. My number is offline because it owes me money. The operator is really bad, so I changed my number. Do you think I'll believe you? I'm serious. Okay, Ms. Laley, go to China alone. Have fun. Chen Zhao put his hand on Yang Guo's shoulder. Laley looked at Yang Guo, who could only nod helplessly. Laley, go. I've already arranged everything in China. My seniors will pick you up at the airport. Don't worry. Laley nodded. Yang Guo wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If he had entered the departure lounge, he wouldn't have run into Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao dragged Yang Guo out of the airport and into the car. What's your new phone number? It's the same one, then why can't I get through to you? Yang Guo's face twitched again. Don't you know that phones have a function called the blacklist? What grudge do you have? Why did you put me on the blacklist? Let's not talk about this, okay? Yang Guo kept sighing. Why was he so unlucky? Why was he caught by Chen Zhao? Where are you going? Send me to my place, Yang Guo said. Yang Guo's place wasn't bad. It was a high-end neighborhood. But when he reached his house, Yang Guo didn't get out. He kept frowning. What's wrong? There's an uninvited guest in my house. Yang Guo was very unhappy. Which house is yours? Chen Zhao asked. That one. Through Yang Guo's directions, Chen Zhao realized that there were 2 people in Yang Guo's house. There are 2 people inside. Are they the uninvited guests? Chen Zhao turned to Yang Guo. Do you need me to send them away? No. I don't like them, but they're not enemies. They broke into your house. Aren't they enemies? I don't like them, but I don't want to be enemies with them. Who are they? An organization called the Spiritual Team. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. Spiritual Team. Is the person in charge called Vestana? You know them. Yang Guo looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. The purpose of the Spiritual Team is to be my enemy, Chen Zhao said. So they're your enemies. Good thing I didn't join them. Do they want you to join them? A smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. Seeing Chen Zhao smile, Yang Guo had a bad feeling. Please don't ask me to be a spy. I don't have the talent. Since you're so enthusiastic, I'll agree to your request. You can join the Spiritual Team. What? I said I won't join. I'm from Dragon Tiger Mountain. I can't betray my master. It's fine. If old Zhang has any complaints, I'll handle it for you. Go in peace. I don't want, you don't have a choice, Chen Zhao said coldly. Don't worry about being a spy. If there's any news, remember to tell me. You have my number. You can get out now. Chapter 1907. Can I say no? Yang Guo looked at Chen Zhao with a sad face. Oh, which generation are you from Dragon Tiger Mountain? Chen Zhao suddenly changed the topic. The Dao generation. Are you the successor of Mount Longhu? No, why do you ask? It's fine. I just want to know if old Zhang will turn against me if I kill you. Chen Zhao, we don't have such a big grudge. Also, my grandmaster loves me a lot. It's okay. I'll go find a few Qiao Fengs, Linghu Chong, Duan Yu, Guijing, Zhang Wuji, and so on. Your grandmaster just wants to have some fun. Hearing that, Yang Guo felt even more stifled. In Chen Zhao's words, he was a joke. Alright, don't pull a long face. Go. Chen Zhao patted Yang Guo's shoulder. It's only half a year. It's not like you have to be an opportunist for the rest of your life. Yang Guo did not believe this sentence. Being a spy once meant being a spy for a lifetime. After Yang Guo got off, Chen Zhao drove away. Just then, Chen Zhao received Dell's call. Chen, come here. Oh, are you at home? No, I'm at the hotel. Alright, I'll head over now. Chen Zhao arrived at the hotel and saw that Li Qing was also in Dell's office. Chen, please persuade my master. What's there to advise? Sister Qing, what's wrong? Nothing, I just want Dell to help me save the money. It's nothing big, Li Qing said. She had a check in her hand. Chen Zhao was confused. Dell, since Auntie Qing asked you to save money for her, just do it for her. What's so difficult about it? Chen Zhao took the check from Li Qing and looked at it. His eyes almost popped out. $20 million. 20 million US dollars. Dell, did you give it to your master? Not me. Dell shook his head. Master said it was a client you introduced last time. That client paid her. Chen Zhao was amazed. Last time, he had introduced Li Qing to Amira casually. Amira then introduced Li Qing to her father. She didn't expect her father to be so generous as to give her 20 million US dollars. This was an astronomical figure for any spiritualist. Even if it's a lot of money, it shouldn't be a problem, right? I can guarantee that the money came from a clear source. I'm not afraid that Master's money came from an unknown source. I just feel that with so much money, Master doesn't need to work for that old bastard Ethan anymore. In fact, this had nothing to do with 20 million US dollars. Even without 20 million US dollars, Dell was willing to take care of Li Qing until she died. Dell didn't like Ethan either. Even if Li Qing helped him take care of Faith and teach her spells, he would be more than happy to do so. Chen, help me persuade my master too. She's already so rich now. She doesn't need to work at Ethan's place all day. What advice can I give? I don't care. He knew that Li Qing didn't stay with Ethan for the salary. It was because to Li Qing, she was a grateful person. When she was at her most desperate, Chen Zhao and Ethan gave her a place to stay. Just then, Li Qing said, even with the 20 million, your headquarters can't make me do nothing, right? Master, I didn't say that I want you to just eat and wait to die. If you feel that you have nothing to do, come to my hotel. We are short of a department manager. You can come here and be a department manager. Isn't it better than that small motel? You don't need me. Plus, I can't be a department manager. Dell looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao shrugged. I can't help you either. Dell was depressed. He'd had high hopes for Chen Zhao. But Chen Zhao rejected him directly. Chen Zhao knew that Dell and Ethan were fighting fiercely. However, they were both Chen Zhao's friends, so Chen Zhao never interfered. Mr. Chen, did your cultivation improve again? Li Qing clearly didn't want to continue this topic. She changed the topic to Qinzhao. But Li Qing's eyesight was indeed good. Her cultivation wasn't high, but her eyesight was definitely rare. Even Zhang Tianyi might not have her eyesight. Auntie Li, how can you tell? You have the qi of great minister now. Your face is a combination of dragon and tiger. Last time I saw you, you didn't have this, so I guessed that your cultivation improved greatly or that you obtained some treasure. Master, what's the qi of great minister? Qi refers to power. The so-called qi of great minister is described as, the tides move the wind and clouds, the hidden dragon in the mountains, the spiritual light in the heart, the treasure elephant dancing in the wind. Li Qing said. You haven't learned physiognomy yet, so you can't tell Mr. Chen's level. What about the combination of dragon and tiger? What is it? In physiognomy, a person's face is divided into upper and lower qi. The upper is cloud and the lower is wind. The cloud follows the dragon and the wind follows the tiger. That's why it's said that everyone has a dragon and a tiger. When the qi is up, the dragon is a king. When the qi is down, the tiger is a hero. Mr. Chen's face is a combination of dragon and tiger. Master, look at my physiognomy. Do I have a chance to be a king or something? You're thinking too much. You have the face of a tiger rising to the sun and a dragon diving into the water. This is the face of prosperity and wealth, and you will not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life. As for the dragon, it doesn't mean that you can be a king or an emperor, but it means that this kind of physiognomy is extremely precious in the world. It doesn't respect heaven and earth, it doesn't respect ghosts and gods, it only respects one's heart. Li Qing said, people with these two types of physiognomy are either too self-centered and selfish, or they're sinister and vile. Therefore, it's not advisable to have too much contact with these two types of people. Everyone will more or less have their qi fall and their lower qi rise. This is also a person's personality that changes constantly. You have this kind of personality, and so does Mr. Chen. Everyone is the same. Many people in the world can be summed up in this way. Li Qing paused and continued, and the qi of dragon and tiger is the embrace of wind and cloud, it's a combination of yin and yang. Only people with a clear mind can have this kind of physiognomy. This kind of physiognomy is worthy of the word great. The Qingyi sect was born out of Mao Shan Taoism. Mao Shan was not only good at refining corpses, but also good at physiognomy. The founder of the Qingyi sect, Shengliu Qingyi, traveled the world in his early years, relying on his physiognomy. Later on, he established his own sect and became the Qingyi sect. Shengliu Qingyi's name also spread all over the world. Li Qing was the current successor of the Qingyi sect. She had third-rate abilities in subduing demons, second-rate cultivation, and first-rate physiognomy. Is there anything special about the word great? Ordinary people look at their physiognomy, but people with great physiognomy can only look at their qi, not their faces. I still don't understand. Aren't they all the same? Looking at qi can see the present, not the future, but looking at the face can see the past, present, and future, Li Qing said. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1908. Most of the Qingyi sect's books were still in Chen Zhao's hands. However, Chen Zhao couldn't learn physiognomy. Fei Lai, on the other hand, kept reading. As Li Qing's direct disciple, Dell also didn't know physiognomy. Actually, Li Qing cared more about Dell's daughter, Faith. Faith was too talented. She had a higher chance of inheriting Li Qing's legacy. Master, Chen's cultivation is higher than yours, right? Li Qing rolled her eyes. Mr. Chen's cultivation has always been higher than mine. Then how high is Chen's cultivation now? Then you should ask him yourself. Dell looked at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao shrugged. I can't tell how high it is, but I should be in the top 10 in the world. That's strong. Dell wasn't convinced. Chen, let's fight. Qin Zhao and Li Qing rolled their eyes at the same time. Although cultivation did not represent one's battle prowess. But Qin Zhao said that he could be in the top 10 in the world. His combat ability definitely wasn't weak. Dell was still at a mediocre level. However, Dell still didn't have an accurate concept of cultivation and combat ability. It was mainly because he hadn't interacted with people from the spiritual world. Who had he interacted with now? Qin Zhao, Li Qing, and his daughter Faith. None of the three of them would really fight with him. So, Dell always felt good about himself. Auntie Li, I'm going back, Qin Zhao said. Chen, don't go. Fight with me. Qin Zhao lifted his hand and flicked his finger. A small fist shadow hit the wall and created a hole. Dell, are you sure you want me to open a hole in your body? I can do it if I train for a while longer. Qin Zhao and Li Qing both smiled bitterly. Li Qing could tell that Qin Zhao hadn't even used 1% of his strength. Dell thought that Qin Zhao had used his full strength. But Qin Zhao didn't show his strength because he didn't want to give Dell too much pressure. It was just like the theory of speed racing. If one was ahead by only a body's length or a short distance, it would only incite the latecomers to catch up. However, if one was in the lead for 2 big laps, it would only bring despair to the latecomers and cause them to give up on the competition. Qin Zhao knew this, and so did Li Qing. Only Dell didn't. So he basically didn't use magic in front of Dell. Even if he used it, it would be like a dragonfly touching the surface of the water. Master, what kind of spell did Qin use to punch holes in the air? Many types of magic can do that, and the Green Robes sect has them as well. However, Chen Nazhao is relatively simple. As long as your cultivation reaches his level, you can also do it. Master, can you do it? This. I'll try. Qin Zhao strolled through the back garden of the hotel, admiring the scenery. Dell and Risvar, on the other hand, understand and enjoy it. At this moment, a group of people came over. That group of people was surrounding a person. The 2 bodyguards in front cleared the way. The garden path was narrow, and it was difficult for 3 people to stand. Qin Zhao stood in the middle of the road. The 2 bodyguards walked up to him and tried to push him. Stop, go away. Wang He actually enjoyed this process. He had a team of 10 personal assistants. There were also 4 bodyguards arranged by PLM to protect him during the North American trip. This was Wang He's first time enjoying the treatment of a superstar. Yes, a superstar. A movie had made him one of the superstars. His fame both domestically and internationally had reached its peak. This time, he had come here not only for 2 North American interview shows, but also for the celebration party. However, when he saw Qin Zhao, he quickly pushed the 2 bodyguards away. Wang He jogged over to Qin Zhao and smiled at him. Mr. Qin, hello. Qin Zhao glanced at the team behind Wang He. You sure have a lot of people here. Ha. It's all thanks to Mr. Qin, Wang He said, smiling apologetically. The assistants behind him were all from China. Even Wang He's current manager was brand new. He could summon wind and rain in the Chinese entertainment industry, but he didn't dare to put on airs before Qin Zhao. After all, he wanted to take a few more movies in Hollywood. Plus, Qin Zhao's background wasn't as simple as Hollywood. Offending Qin Zhao here would result in terrible consequences. When did you come to Los Angeles? Just today. Oh, Qin Ke is here too. We're here for the celebration party, Wang He said. I was going to visit you 2 days ago. Then come visit when you're free. You know where I live, anyway. Chen Zhao nodded. I'll be going now. Okay, I won't see you off. Bye. Bye. Wang He kept his eyes on Chen Zhao. When he disappeared from his sight, he heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Wang, who is that person? Is he in the entertainment industry too? Manager Lu asked curiously. He had just been assigned to Wang He by the company. Lu wasn't old, but he was an experienced manager. His work style was also mature. He knew how to coordinate the interests of celebrities and various resources. He himself is a billionaire. The chairman of PLM and Steven are good friends of his. He was the one who helped me get the role in Abduction. Also, he was the one who arranged for me to play the role in Abduction. Also, my wife in the movie, Chen Ku, is his cousin. Wang He looked at little Lu. Do you think I would dare to be disrespectful to him? Little Lu gasped. He immediately understood why Wang He had lowered his stance so much earlier. Wang He still had some information that he didn't say. Chen Zhao's information wasn't as simple as he said. Will he appear at the celebration party? Probably not. He doesn't like that kind of occasion. Arrange a time and we'll visit him tomorrow. Okay, I'll arrange the time and schedule. Wang He was no longer a second-tier or third-tier celebrity. In the past, he had to strictly follow his manager's arrangements for all his activities and schedules. But it was different now. All the company's resources were focused on him. Of course, there was also Chen Ku. Chen Ku's resources weren't much less than his. After all, Chen Ku was famous and influential. She was also Chen Zhao's cousin. Wang He didn't dare to compete with Chen Ku. Of course, their actual conflicts weren't big. After all, their roles, character designs, and development directions were all different. Moreover, Wang He and Chen Ku played a couple in Kidnapping. Therefore, they were recognized as a screen couple and were very popular in the domestic market. Wang He didn't lack fame or status. What he lacked was experience. Wang He was very careful when choosing new works. He didn't dare to be careless. Chapter 1909. Now, there were a few Hollywood film companies that had offered him roles. But Wang He didn't agree. They were all third-tier companies. There wasn't even a second-tier company. None of them were A-grade or above either. Wang He didn't want to make an independent movie either. He needed commercial recognition. Kidnapping had made him who he was. Now, he needed to consolidate his position. So, he needed a commercial film that had hope of success. Chen Zhao's power and connections were clearly a great help. Wang He obviously didn't want to become enemies with Chen Zhao. In the past, Chen Zhao had thought that the hardest job was being a doctor. But now, he felt that the hardest job was being a kindergarten teacher. When Chen Zhao returned home, Portia was already on the verge of breaking down. Chen Zhao's return was like a beacon of light in a sea of misery for Portia. "Boss, you're finally back." Portia's face was covered in tears. "I was only gone for half a day." "What happened to you?" "Half a day. Why do I feel like half a century has passed?" "Okay, go rest. I'll call you when it's lunchtime." Chen Zhao patted Portia's shoulder. Portia rolled her eyes. "Boss, I'm not tired anymore." "Oh, since you're not tired, you can go by takeout." "I'll go rest." Portia found a guest room and laid down. She was really tired. Chen Zhao changed his clothes and leaned against the yard. A few kids were playing in the front yard. Some were on the beach. This was Chen Zhao's favorite state. Doing nothing. Just then, a car entered Mingyue Villa. Lola arrived with the 3 children. "Hi, Lola." Chen Zhao went up and kissed her. Then he looked at Vera, Ronnie, and Faith. "Lola, how come you're free today?" "Johnny went to Europe and I have to go to Australia tomorrow, so I can't take care of Vera and Ronnie. I could only bring them here." "What about Faith?" "Faith said that Vera and Ronnie aren't here and she's alone. After asking Del, I brought her here too." "Okay." Chen Zhao shrugged. The 3 families were familiar with each other and trusted each other. They both had children, so it was normal for them to help each other take care of their children. He didn't know if Portia would go crazy after seeing 3 more children. The 3 boys were already on the beach. The 3 of them were no strangers to this place. Stay for lunch. At the dining table, when Portia saw the 3 extra children, she looked as if she had nothing to live for anymore. On the other hand, Chen Zhao and Laura were chatting away. "By the way, is Johnny going to Europe for work?" "It's about work." Laura nodded. "One of the ocean shipping company's cargo ships has been hijacked in Somali waters, and the Somali pirates are now demanding a ransom of 50 million USD. Will Johnny be in danger?" Chen Zhao asked, frowning. "He won't go to Somalia. Nothing will happen to him." "I'm fine." Chen Zhao nodded. "Is Somalia a place for people?" He didn't even know when a bullet would be fired from the shadows. Where was Johnny's ship hijacked in the Somali waters? "I know some pirates. Maybe they can help." "You know pirates?" Laura looked at Chen Zhao, surprised. "You know my job. Pirates have appeared in my patient list before. Are you sure that the pirates you know can help? Our biggest problem right now isn't money, but how to ensure the safety of the crew." Laura's words weren't just for humanitarian reasons, but for universal values. It also concerned the future of the ocean shipping company. If a company couldn't ensure the safety of its employees, it would be very passive. "I'm not 100% sure, but there's still hope. Even if we have to negotiate, it's better to negotiate with pirates than with Johnny." Of course, Chen Zhao knew that the Somali pirates were completely different from the pirates in other waters. Most of the Somali pirates were actually rebels. Plus, they wouldn't follow the rules, let alone be trustworthy. Laura hesitated for a moment. "Do you want to give it a try?" Laura wasn't confident. Of course, she didn't want Risvar to take the risk. But Risvar had always been very daring. Who knew if he would really go to Somalia? "Give me the cargo ship's information." After lunch, Laura was about to leave. "Chen, I'll leave it to you, but don't force yourself. At most, you'll have to pay a ransom. It's not unacceptable for us." "I understand." Chen Zhao nodded. After Laura left, Chen Zhao picked up the phone. "Guret, do you have any relationship with the Somali pirates?" "They're just a bunch of barbarians." "Why do you ask?" Guret asked, confused. "My friend's cargo ship was robbed. I'm afraid I can't help you. My people and I are only active in the Pacific. We can't set foot in the Somali waters." "Okay. Do you have any good suggestions?" "What do you want?" "My friend is in the shipping business, after all." "Will there be any problems?" Chen Zhao asked. "Don't worry. Those aren't normal pirates. They're just looking for an opportunity to do something. The power on the sea is at most a few small fishing boats. Next time, as long as we avoid this area and go a few hundred nautical miles, the Somali pirates won't be able to do anything. Mr. Risvar, it's too risky. You don't have to come here yourself." "No, I do. Risvar was in the Somali waters at the moment. He was on a modified armed ship. Risvar's expression didn't look good. He wanted to know why his cargo ship had been hijacked. He had some connections with the local rebel government. Every year, they would give him a few $1,000,000 for passage. Thus, his cargo ship often passed by this area. There had never been any danger or hijacking. A few $1,000,000 wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. If all the ships under his company chose to go around this area, the cost would increase correspondingly. The price he would have to pay would be 10 times more than the few $1,000,000. He had to figure out if these pirates and the rebels behind them were still trustworthy and if they could still maintain courtesy. After all, this wasn't a glorious thing. As the top ocean shipping company in Europe, if such a scandal was exposed, it would be a huge blow to the company's image. Risvar couldn't tell the negotiation team, so he could only do it himself. Chapter 1910. Just then, a fishing boat appeared in front of the ship. It wasn't even a third of the size of the ship. Mr. Risvar, the ship in front sent a message. It's a messenger sent by Roaman. He's requesting to come closer. Okay, Risvar said. Let him come closer. Risvar stood on the deck of the ship and watched the fishing boat come over. But it didn't slow down. It still charged at Risvar. Oh no, he's going to hit our ship. Shoot, shoot. We have to sink them. Our ship is so big. It should be fine, right? Risvar didn't understand, but he didn't sound confident either. Mr. Risvar. They must have explosives on the ship. But at this time, the fishing boat was too close, and the fishing boat was equipped with iron armor. The ship's firepower wasn't weak, but its cannons had medium to long range. It couldn't fire at the nearby fishing boat. The machine gun on the ship fired at the fishing boat's armor, but it didn't have any effect. The fishing boat had been scheming. It had tricked Risvar into crossing the safety line. Mr. Risvar, get down. Risvar's bodyguard suddenly pressed him to the ground. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire ship began to shake. The hull was severely damaged. It started tilting. Just then, a dozen fishing boats appeared around the ship. It was obvious that this was a trap that had been prepared beforehand. The crew on the ship fell into the water. Risvar also struggled on the surface. The people on the fishing boats started shooting at the sea. A lifebuoy with a rope was thrown in front of Risvar. Then, he was pulled onto one of the boats. Less than 20 minutes later, he was thrown onto the deck. He went from a big boss to a prisoner. Risvar looked up and saw his former partner, Roaman, standing before him. Beside Roaman stood a white man. He clearly wasn't a Somali pirate. Mr. Roaman, what do you think of my plan? Good, very good. Roaman grinned, revealing a mouth full of black teeth. Although Luo Amon was dressed like a tribesman, he spoke fluent English. Luo Amon looked at Risvar on the deck. Mr. Risvar, this is the second time we've met, right? Roaman, do you know what you're doing? Risvar was furious. Of course I know, Mr. Risvar. I'm short of money recently, so I can only do this. I hope you can understand my difficulties, Luo Amon said proudly. How much do you want? Risvar regretted it at the moment. However, he knew very well that if he didn't pay the price this time, he wouldn't be able to escape. In fact, he might even die here this time. Not much, just 1 billion USD. You won't get the money, Risvar snorted. In the business world, asking for a sky-high price was important, and the same applied to kidnapping and ransom. If he directly agreed to the other party's request, then the other party would feel that he wanted too little. Then, he would ask for more money. "I believe your family will agree," the white man standing next to Luo Amon said with his hands in his pockets. "You're dreaming." Risvar closed his eyes. "Kral, are you sure that guy's family will pay? 1 billion USD. That's not a small amount." "Of course, I'm very sure." "Does he really have that much money?" For a Somali rebel leader like Luo Amon, a few million USD was already a windfall for them. 1 billion USD was an unimaginably astronomical number. "Risvar's worth is much more than that," Kral said. "Much more than that. Then can we get more money?" Kral shook his head. "Although his worth is much more than that, he doesn't have that much cash unless he sells his assets. That will take a long time." "Then we can wait," Luo Amon said. "No, we can't wait," Kral immediately objected firmly. Kral immediately objected, "People like him are too influential and powerful. He can even influence the government. We can't give his forces time to prepare. Once they're ready, it will be very troublesome. After taking the money, we'll kill him." "Kill him? Can't we keep extorting him?" Luo Amon said with pity. "Keep extorting? You're thinking too much." Kral sneered. "Even you have to hide after taking the money." "I'm not afraid. I have an army." "Army? Can your army defeat the Americans?" Kral looked at the bumpkin in disdain. This guy didn't know when to stop. Kral didn't want to expose himself. Since the bumpkin was so stupid, he couldn't let him live. Kral knew very well that if he was exposed, then there would be endless trouble. Risvar's family wouldn't just let him go. Although Kral was a professional mercenary, Risvar's family would definitely hire many killers and mercenaries. The number would be unimaginable. Kral would be hunted for the rest of his life. No matter how capable Kral was, he didn't want to face such a life. Luo Amon was naive enough to think that he could do whatever he wanted with an army. He didn't understand how terrifying capitalists were. After the fishing boat docked, Risvar was dragged ashore. Then, he was thrown into a smelly dungeon. Risvar knew very well that he wouldn't be able to survive this time. He was too confident. He thought that with enough force, he could protect himself even in Somalia. He didn't expect that Luo Amon would prepare a trap for him. Just then, the door to the dungeon opened again. Luo Amon and Kral walked in. 2 other people came with them. They aimed their cameras at Risvar. Risvar immediately understood their intention. They wanted to film him being kidnapped and send it to Lola. This made Risvar very angry. But his anger was of no use. He couldn't do anything. Kral threw a piece of paper to Risvar and asked him to read it. Risvar was obviously unwilling. But then, there was a series of punches and kicks. Risvar quickly gave in and compromised. These people were very heavy-handed. They beat Risvar until he curled up on the ground. The footage they filmed was even more cruel and bloody. "Mr. Risvar, look. If you cooperate with us obediently, you won't have to suffer like this." Chapter 1911. Chen, something happened. Laura ran to Mingyue Villa in a panic. What happened? Chen Zhao saw Laura running over in a hurry. Didn't he say he was going on a business trip today? However, when Laura saw Ronnie and Vera, she forced herself to control her emotions. "Didi, take your sister outside to play," Chen Zhao said. After the children all left, Laura gave Chen Zhao her phone. It was a video. The more Chen Zhao watched, the more serious his expression became. What's going on? Johnny's in trouble. He went to Somalia and was kidnapped by the local rebels. Laura was at a loss. Chen, do you have cash? Johnny and I only have 200 million in our accounts. Yes. Chen Zhao nodded and picked up the phone. Andrews, help me transfer all the cash in my account. How much cash do I have? Hearing Andrews' answer, Chen Zhao nodded. At the same time, he said to Laura, Laura, don't worry. I have 600 million in my account. I'll find someone to borrow some more. Chen. I'll go find someone myself. It's okay. My friend has cash, Chen Zhao said, shaking his head. Okay, Laura, rest here. I'll go find my friend. Thank you, Chen. Chen Zhao called Fei Lai first, telling her to put down her work and come back to accompany Laura. Hearing the situation, Fei Lai immediately rushed back from the coastal rescue team. Laura, don't worry. Chen knows a lot of friends. It'll be fine. Fei Lai immediately went to Laura and comforted her. Laura actually wanted to believe Fei Lai, but she also knew that Fei Lai's words were mostly to comfort her. To Laura, it wasn't the time to think about money. Instead, she was thinking about whether Risvar could come back alive. Laura, do you know the information about the person who kidnapped Johnny? The more detailed, the better. I only know that his name is Roaman, a rebel leader in Malka. He has more than 10,000 people under him. Laura looked at Chen Zhao worriedly. Chen, is this enough? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Fei Lai, stay with Laura. I'm going out. Okay. Fei Lai nodded understandingly. Mr. Graves, can I ask you something? Graves was surprised to receive Chen Zhao's call. Mr. Chen, did the two bodyguards I arranged make a mistake? Glavers thought that something had happened to the two bodyguards, which was why Chen Zhao had called to question them. No, I wanted to ask if you have any intelligence on Somalia. What would you like to know, Mr. Chen? Glavers asked. A rebel leader called Roaman. The more details, the better. Mr. Chen, I run a security company. Although I have my own contacts in intelligence, I can't guarantee anything. $10 million. I don't care how much you give to your network. I want an answer in 30 minutes. I want all the information about this rebel leader named Roaman. Alright, I'll find out all the information about this guy in 30 minutes. As soon as Glavers hung up, he received a message from his bank. $10 million had been added to his account. Glavers didn't know why Chen Zhao was looking for this rebel leader called Roaman. However, he could feel the coldness in Chen Zhao's tone. Half an hour later, Glavers called Chen Zhao again. Mr. Chen, did you receive the message I sent you? Yes, I got it. Chen Zhao saw that the information was quite comprehensive and was quite satisfied. Mr. Chen, if you need, I can help you get rid of this guy. Of course, the price will be good. Thanks, but no need, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Glavers was a bit disappointed. Chen Zhao had actually spent $10 million on intelligence. If he hired them, wouldn't it be even more? Unfortunately, Chen Zhao didn't choose them. If there was one place in the world that was wild, it would be Somalia. There was no other place in the world that was as wild and chaotic as Somalia. There were no rules here. No one was absolutely safe. Even the Middle East was like heaven compared to Somalia. Government troops, rebels, warlords, criminal organizations, pirates, mercenaries, and even killers formed a terrifying and chaotic zone here. Here, kids as young as 7 or 8 would attack people with weapons. Perhaps this 7 or 8-year-old child had killed more people than anyone else. At night, the gunshots wouldn't stop. Every now and then, there would be gunshots. After a while, it would fall silent again. This was the norm here. Chen Zhao arrived at Marca, Somalia. There were broken walls everywhere. The buildings were very old. After the war, they became even more dilapidated. Chen Zhao seemed to have entered a Chinese village in the 1970s. Marca used to be an important city in Somalia. It had a certain industrial base, but the civil war had destroyed everything here. There weren't even 100,000 people in Marca now. More than half of them were related to the rebels. There were fortresses and pillboxes everywhere. There were traces of war everywhere. While Chen Zhao was strolling around, two black men stopped him and interrogated him in Somali. Their muzzles were almost at Chen Zhao's head. Chen Zhao raised his arms, his expression fearless. He allowed the two of them to search his body. "Do you speak English?" Chen Zhao asked. These two black men were complete foot soldiers. How could they understand English? They didn't understand English, but they knew that Chen Zhao was speaking it. When they didn't find anything, they pushed Chen Zhao, cursing. They seemed to want to take Chen Zhao somewhere. Just then, a white man suddenly appeared. When he saw Chen Zhao, he was clearly stunned. "Asian. Hey, hi. You speak English, right?" Chen Zhao was surprised. Kral glanced at Chen Zhao. He thought that Chen Zhao saw him as his savior. "Do you know where Risvar is now?" Kral was about to leave. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, he suddenly stopped. "Who are you?" Kral stared at Chen Zhao. "I was sent by Mr. Risvar's family to negotiate with Roaman," Chen Zhao said seriously. "What do you want to talk about?" "Mr. Roaman already gave us his conditions," Kral said. "Your only choice now is to accept our conditions." Chapter 1912. "I need to at least confirm if Mr. Risvar is alive," Chen Zhao said. "Otherwise, why would I give you the money?" Kral thought for a moment. Then he spoke to the two men in Somali. Then he brought Chen Zhao to the dungeon. Outside the dungeon, Chen Zhao was searched again. They were clearly worried that Chen Zhao had some kind of tracking device on him. Of course, reality proved that they were worried for nothing. Chen Zhao didn't have anything on him. The man who searched Chen Zhao wanted to take his ring. However, he couldn't take it off even after trying for a long time. Kral and his men checked Chen Zhao's body with equipment again. Just then, Luo Alman arrived. Chen Zhao had seen Luo Alman's information, including his photo. He knew that the last man was Luo Alman. "Is this Asian here to pay the ransom?" "Yes." Kral nodded. "What about the money?" "He needs to confirm if Risvar is still alive." "Is he okay?" "No, I checked him. There's nothing wrong with him." "Then hurry up. Let him take a look at Risvar and then take the money." Then Chen Zhao was pushed into the dungeon. In the dim dungeon, Chen Zhao saw Risvar lying on the ground, covered in wounds. "Risvar." Chen Zhao immediately went up to check his injuries. Risvar slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Chen Zhao, his face was filled with shock. Risvar propped himself up with difficulty. "Chen, why are you here?" "To take you home." "What nonsense are you talking about? You shouldn't be here." "Don't worry. Wait here. I'll go out and talk to them. I think they'll agree to my request." Chen Zhao patted Risvar's shoulder. "Chen, those people can't communicate with words at all," Risvar said worriedly. "Find a chance to leave." "Don't worry," Chen Zhao said with a smile. "I didn't plan on communicating with them in the first place. Bang, bang. At this moment, the mercenary standing outside the door knocked on the metal door heavily. Time's up. Come out now. Chen Zhao gave Risvar a look and walked to the door. The moment the metal door closed, Risvar, who was in the dungeon, suddenly heard a scream from outside. After calming down, Risvar could tell that it wasn't Chen Zhao's voice. Moreover, he knew that Chen Zhao was very skilled. Did Chen Zhao want to kill their way out of here with just one person? But was that even possible? The people outside the passageway also heard the screams coming from inside. Kral's expression changed. The person he'd sent to follow Chen Zhao didn't come out. One of Chen Zhao's hands was stained with blood. He immediately raised his gun and pointed it at Chen Zhao. Bang bang, Clower fired without hesitation. Chen Zhao moved his body twice and Kral's 2 shots missed. Kral was stunned. Smiling, Chen Zhao took out a grenade and pulled the ring. Kral's expression changed drastically, and he immediately flew to the side of the aisle. Chen Zhao had already thrown the grenade out. Bang! Both Kral and Roaman ran out of the room and called for their men to rush in. Meanwhile, Risvar, who was in the dungeon, fell into a state of panic because intense gunshots and explosions could be heard everywhere outside. After Chen Zhao had left, the gunshots and explosions hadn't stopped. Kral and Roaman didn't know what to do. They realized that the Asian couldn't be killed at all. In the beginning, their men could still rush into the building. However, after they entered the building, all they heard were miserable screams. Then, they never came out again. Eventually, no one was willing to go in anymore. Just because they didn't go in didn't mean that the person wouldn't come out. Then, miserable screams rang out beside them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 100. Kral, hurry up and think of something. Aren't you an elite mercenary? Roaman yelled at Kral, somewhat terrified. Kral wanted to solve the problem, but he didn't know how. His men weren't good at direct conflict. He was best at planning behind the scenes. For example, this time. It was through a series of traps that he managed to kidnap a billionaire. Now, he was facing a terrifying murderer. He'd completely lost his sense of propriety and thought. No matter how many people came, they couldn't kill the man. Seeing that Kral didn't know what to do, Roaman could only keep calling for his army. Just then, a tank entered the battlefield. Boom! The tank fired into the darkness. However, the tank's shell didn't hurt him. Instead, it helped Chen Zhao get rid of the minions around him. Chen Zhao went over and dismantled the tank. Soon, Kral and Roaman realized that they couldn't understand the situation on the battlefield. Many times, the situation on the battlefield was beyond what humans should be capable of. For example, the tank had been cut open for no reason. Gradually, they vaguely realized, maybe it wasn't humans who were fighting them. To be honest, killing was the most boring thing. Chen Zhao couldn't understand people who were addicted to killing. At least, the process wasn't interesting. The rebels weren't actually all bad people. Most of the time, they were forced to join the rebels and participate in this immoral war. More and more rebels chose to escape. Of course, Chen Zhao wouldn't let the main culprit escape. After half an hour of madness, the entire Marca fell into silence. Roaman and Kral were curled up in a low bungalow. They thought that they could escape the butcher this way. But the moment the door was pushed open, they fell into despair. They had guns to kill. Their guns were all aimed at the man at the door. Chen Zhao stood at the door. Do you think that thing in your hands is really trying to kill me? At that moment, Roaman opened fire. But Chen Zhao reached out and pinched the bullet. This action made them completely lose the will to fight. They finally realized that the person before them really wasn't human. At least, humans couldn't catch bullets. Seeing them put down their guns, Chen Zhao finally smiled. Good. It seems like you finally understand your situation. How much money did Risvar give you? I can give you double, no, triple. No, no, no. You can work with us. We can extort more money from him, Roman said excitedly. Chapter 1913. Just then, Chen Zhao suddenly heard strange cries from the forest. Unusual lights seemed to appear in the forest. They were like the eyes of a pack of beasts, but there weren't many beasts that moved in groups in the forests of Africa. Mountain gorillas were one, and there were also mountain wolves. But mountain gorillas would never approach human settlements. Mountain gorillas might look big and burly. In reality, they were all very timid. And smart. They knew the dangers of humans. As for the wolf pack, it was even more unlikely for them to get close to human settlements. Because wolves decided their range and number of packs based on the amount of food they had. The closer they were to human settlements, the less food there was. Perhaps one or two mountain wolves would occasionally approach a human village. But it was impossible for the entire pack to approach. Moreover, there weren't just a dozen pairs of eyes in the forest, but hundreds. The owner of those eyes let out a low and hoarse voice. Luo Amon suddenly shivered. He seemed to know what it was. Spirit beast. Spirit beast. It's a spirit beast. Luo Amon cried out in terror. Just then, a long howl came from the forest. The howl was loud and clear, echoing in the forest. At that moment, the few rebel soldiers who had escaped earlier ran back in panic. They weren't afraid of Chen Zhao anymore. They passed by Chen Zhao, shouting as they ran. Chen Zhao didn't care about them. Instead, he kept looking forward. Just then, a rebel in front of Chen Zhao was suddenly pounced on by something. At first, Chen Zhao didn't see anything. But with a flash of light, a translucent beast more than 3 meters long appeared on the rebel's body. It wasn't a wolf, lion, or leopard. But it was very big and ferocious. It tore at the rebel who'd been pounced on. In just 2 or 3 moves, the rebel soldier had been bitten into a bloody mess. Run! Run! That's a spirit beast. Luo Amon cried out in terror. Large numbers of spirit beasts charged down from the forest. Very soon, the entire marca was affected. Oh no! Chen Zhao suddenly realized that Risvar was still in the dungeon. If such a monster charged into the dungeon, Risvar would definitely die. Chen Zhao didn't care about Luo Amon and Clower anymore. He turned and charged toward the dungeon. Bang! Suddenly, the iron door of the dungeon let out a heavy banging sound. Risvar was shocked. Was Chen Zhao outside? Risvar was hesitant. After Chen Zhao left, the metal door wasn't completely closed. However, Risvar still locked the door from the inside. Risvar looked through the hole in the iron door. It was pitch black outside, and nothing could be seen. Risvar looked down at the bolt. He hesitated whether or not to open the door. Chen, is that you? There was no response from outside. Risvar gulped and hesitantly reached out to pull the latch. At this moment, a sharp scratching sound came from the iron gate. Risvar then saw the claw marks of some creature on the iron door. The iron door was scratched into a horrifying mark. Risvar was so frightened that he quickly retreated. There seemed to be something looking in through the scratches on the iron door. Bang! The iron door was sent flying. Risvar lowered his head in fear. The metal door slid past Risvar's scalp and stabbed into the wall behind him. Then Risvar felt something pounce on him. He clearly didn't see anything, but his body felt like it had been hit by a car. Then he saw a huge creature on top of him. The creature's body appeared slowly. Risvar didn't know what it was, but he knew that it was definitely a carnivore. Now, he was probably on the carnivore's menu. And now, he was likely to be on the menu of this carnivore. Then he saw the carnivore being pulled away from him. Chen Zhao pulled the spirit beast out of Risvar's body. Then it smashed heavily into the wall. The spirit beast smashed into the wall and immediately turned into a glowing cloud of dust. Then it gathered again and returned to its beast form. Chen. Risvar felt as if he had just stepped through the gates of hell. Risvar panted heavily. He was frightened, really frightened. He had never experienced something so terrifying. The spirit beast pounced at Risvar again. It seemed that it also bullied the weak and feared the strong. It knew that Chen Zhao wasn't easy to deal with. But Chen Zhao lifted his leg and swept it horizontally. The spirit beast was sent flying. However, it once again turned into dust and returned to its original state. Chen Zhao grinned. Risvar grabbed the corner of Chen Zhao's shirt. Chen, can you handle it? When the spirit beast pounced at him again, Chen Zhao added force to his fist. Bang! Chen Zhao pierced through the spirit beast's body. This time, it didn't turn into dust. Its body gradually returned to its original state. At the same time, the place Chen Zhao had pierced started bleeding. Chen Zhao twisted his neck and looked back at Risvar. Let's go. Risvar gulped. Will it be okay outside? You'll be fine as long as you don't run away. When Risvar followed Chen Zhao out, he saw that the outside had become a hell of flesh and blood. Broken limbs were everywhere. Some were done by Chen Zhao. But most were done by the spirit beasts. These spirit beasts were like a sumptuous dinner. Chen Zhao and Risvar saw Luo Amon. A spirit beast had pounced on him. The spirit beast didn't kill him directly. Instead, it was gnawing on his arm. Roaman was howling, "Save me! Save me! Mr. Risvar! Save me!" Chen Zhao looked back at Risvar. How was it? Did you vent your anger? Risvar's body was a bit stiff. He didn't care about Roman's life or death. But there were so many spirit beasts around. He wasn't sure if Chen Zhao could handle it. Chen, are you sure you can handle it? Risvar asked uncertainly. If you can't, you can leave first. I'll hide in that dungeon. I crossed the North Atlantic to save you. Do you think I'll give up on you now? You crossed the North Atlantic. How did you do it? Are you touched? Chen Zhao grinned. I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Okay, I won't joke anymore. Let's deal with these problems first. Chen Zhao stretched his arms and legs. I warmed up just now. We can officially start now. To Chen Zhao, the battle with the rebels was just a warm-up. These spirit beasts were the real battle. Chapter 1914. Careful. Suddenly, a spirit beast attacked from behind. Chen Zhao suddenly disappeared from Risvar's sight. The next moment, he kicked the spirit beast's soul away. Do you have a cigarette? Chen Zhao felt that he should light one and take a long drag. Risvar glanced at Chen Zhao. There are still many things around. It's not the time to relax yet. It's not a big problem. The spirit beasts all stopped eating and turned to look at Qin Zhao. The intelligence of these spirit beasts wasn't low. They could even understand the human language. Qin Zhao's arrogant and disdainful attitude had clearly angered them. All the spirit beasts attacked Qin Zhao at the same time. Qin Zhao casually smashed a spirit beast. Then he kicked another one to death. In the blink of an eye, he killed two. Apart from invisibility and turning into dust, these spirit beasts didn't have any special abilities. They were also very poor at attacking. They could only use physical attacks. Each individual's combat power could barely compare to an adult lion. But this level of power wasn't enough to defeat Qin Zhao. It couldn't even be considered a threat. Risvar suddenly realized that he didn't know Qin Zhao at all. If it weren't for this crisis, Qin Zhao would probably never have revealed his true abilities before him. He watched as Qin Zhao continuously slaughtered the spirit beasts before him. Risvar had a strange feeling. And a bit of anger. Qin Zhao actually hid so many secrets from him. Soon, more than 10 spirit beasts were killed. Although it was only 1%, the other spirit beasts seemed to have discovered Qin Zhao's combat power. Just then, a loud howl came from the back of the spirit beast horde. The other spirit beasts started retreating one after another. They retreated just like that. Qin Zhao had originally planned to fight for a long time. He didn't think that they'd retreat after killing only a dozen spirit beasts. Qin Zhao was quite disappointed. After all, he hadn't completed the battle he wanted. But this wasn't a bad thing. After all, Risvar was beside him. In such a chaotic situation, it was difficult for Qin Zhao to protect Risvar and fight at the same time. Their retreat wasn't a bad thing for Risvar. However, the spirit beasts had also taken away many corpses. They'd attacked Marca and killed at least 1,000 rebels. Was this the spiritual world of the African continent? It was completely different from the spiritual world in Europe, Asia, and North America. The African continent was not only human society, but it was also in a semi-barbaric era. Even the spirit world was still in a primitive age. There were actually so many magical beasts here. This spirit beast was definitely a type of magical beast. Although Roaman called them spirit beasts. However, they were living creatures, not ghosts or hell creatures. However, in this continent where human society was not developed, there were still a lot of natural scenery. That was why there were so many natural magical beasts. Moreover, these spirit beasts didn't appear out of nowhere. They must have resided in this forest for a long time. That was why the locals were so familiar with them. The battle between Qin Zhao and the rebels was probably the trigger that triggered their appearance. Risvar felt like he was on a roller coaster. Qin Zhao appeared, disappeared, and reappeared again. He saw the spirit beast horde again. In the end, the spirit beast horde retreated. Risvar had never experienced such ups and downs. As the spirit beasts retreated, Risvar finally felt the joy of surviving a calamity. Qin, what should we do now? Go to the beach. I contacted a group of pirates. Pirates? Risvar shuddered. You know pirates. They're a bunch of immoral bastards. Okay, I'm different from you. The pirates I know are different from the pirates you know too. Don't compare us. What's the difference? At least I won't be kidnapped. I'm a victim. Can you give me some warmth? Laura borrowed money from me earlier and I transferred $600 million to her. Transfer it back to me later. Fuck you. Risvar gradually calmed down. He was even more grateful to Qin Zhao. When he was in the most danger, Qin Zhao had come all the way here. Then, he'd come to save him despite the danger. Before leaving, Chen Zhao had contacted Guret. When they arrived at the beach, Guret's people were already waiting there. Chen, are you sure they won't treat me as a hostage again? They wouldn't dare, Chen Zhao said. Oh, call Laura first. Chen Zhao handed a satellite phone to Risvar. But don't tell them what just happened. Risvar nodded. He respected Chen Zhao's request. Since Chen Zhao wasn't willing, he'd let him. Hey, Laura, it's me, Risvar said. I'm fine. Chen's friends saved me. Johnny, is that you? Is it really you? Laura's face was filled with disbelief. She asked Risvar over the phone, Johnny, how did you get saved? Don't ask about the details. Anyway, I should thank Chen the most. If not for him, I'd probably have died here. Risvar was truly grateful. Laura realized that Chen Zhao had gone out for a few hours. There was no reply. She didn't expect that it would only be a few hours. Chen Zhao had actually saved Risvar. Risvar and Laura chatted for a long time before hanging up reluctantly. Oh, Johnny, do you know where your ship is now? Risvar looked at Chen Zhao and then at the people on the pirate ship. Can your friends help? I only asked them to send you back. They don't care about anything else. Then what do we do? Did you forget me? It's just a ship. I don't want you to take the risk. It's not a risk for me. Alright, the location should be 300 kilometers southeast of Mogadishu. Got it. Chen Zhao nodded and dove into the water. Laura, don't worry. Johnny's safe. I'm still worried that he's not back yet. Then let's go get him. Get him? Laura looked at Feilai, confused. Drive our ship out to sea, Feilai said. Are you sure? Of course. Will that work? Why not? Feilai said matter-of-factly. All right then. Laura was also very anxious at this moment. After all, Risvar had just been kidnapped, even though he'd just reported that he was safe. As long as she didn't see him, Laura couldn't be at ease. Chapter 1915. In the latter half of the night, Chen Zhao suddenly emerged from the water and climbed onto the boat. When Risvar saw Chen Zhao emerge from the sea, he was shocked. Chen, where did you go? I helped you deal with the hijacked ship, Chen Zhao said. Stop joking. This place is at least 1,000 kilometers away from the hijacked ship. You can't swim that far. Even if you can, you don't have that much time. It'll only take you an hour to go back and forth. So you don't know me well enough. Know me? Risvar suddenly remembered that Chen Zhao's appearance here didn't make sense. Logically speaking, he hadn't been kidnapped for more than 8 hours. It would take 15 hours to get from America to Somalia. Crossing the North Atlantic Ocean, then the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea was almost half the distance of the world. Then, he would have to drive from Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, to Malta. It would take more than 10 hours. It could be said that it would take at least a day and a half to reach Malta if there were no accidents along the way. But Chen Zhao appeared in Malta that night. This wasn't normal. Moreover, Chen Zhao had charged in alone. Especially in the end, when Chen Zhao had fought against the spirits. Chen Zhao's various abilities in battle all proved that he wasn't a normal person. Risvar suddenly remembered. After their hotel had opened, Del had been acting strangely. He would occasionally do something strange. For example, he hung a Chinese 8 trigrams mirror in his office. He even had to get a strange potted plant in Risvar's office. He said it was a Chinese custom to attract wealth and treasures. Did Del know already? Risvar asked. No, he didn't just know. We're the same kind of people, Chen Zhao said. What? You're saying Del is as powerful as you? Of course, he can't cross half the world in a short time. Chen Zhao shrugged. People like us are spiritualists. Del is one of us. I'm very angry now, even angrier than when I was kidnapped. I'm actually the last person to know about this, Risvar said angrily. Risvar said angrily, if this didn't happen, how long were you planning to hide it from me? Forever. I won't forgive you, and Del. Risvar was even angrier. Unless you teach me to. I can't teach you, but Del has a master. You can try your luck with her, Chen Zhao said, smiling. Of course, I can't promise you that you have the talent. Del, and you can do it. I'm sure I can too. Risvar looked at him. Are all spiritualists the same? It's different. Every spiritualist has different attributes and magic. What's your magic? My magic system is rather complicated. Anyway, I'm developing in the direction of Superman in the movies, strength. I thought it was swimming. Risvar was very curious about this strange supernatural world. He kept asking for all sorts of information about the spirit world. Risvar asked again, did you swim across a distance of more than 10,000 kilometers? Just then, Chen Zhao's feet left the deck. Fly. Fly. Risvar's eyes widened as he held Chen Zhao's feet. You can fly. Chen Zhao nodded. I will. Then why don't you fly me back? Of course, unless you want to be crushed to death by the high-pressure airflow. Chen Zhao could bring Didi around the world, but it didn't mean that he could bring Risvar. Didi was a spiritualist herself. She'd also put on all sorts of equipment before leaving. With Chen Zhao's protection, she could passively resist the high-pressure airflow. But Risvar was different. He was just a normal person. Chen Zhao could either fly slowly with Risvar or let him die in the air. This ship is too slow. When we go around Africa and reach the Atlantic Ocean, I'll have Amon send you, Chen Zhao said. Amon? You didn't forget Amon, right? Of course I remember Amon. Oh, Amon isn't a normal killer whale, right? If you see Amon now, you'll definitely be shocked. It's not like I haven't seen Amon before, Risvar said in disdain. At most, he's a bit bigger. He felt that his willpower had been thoroughly tempered. No matter what happened, he wouldn't be affected. After a 48-hour journey, the pirate ship released Chen Zhao and Risvar into the sea. The pirates on the ship were confused too. After all, they weren't familiar with Chen Zhao. But Chen Zhao got off the ship in the vast ocean. This place was thousands of kilometers away from the nearest land. They really didn't understand why Chen Zhao and Risvar would get off here. Risvar and Chen Zhao were soaking in the water. Are you sure Amon is nearby? Risvar asked worriedly. Yes, he's here. As soon as Chen Zhao said that, Risvar suddenly realized that a huge shadow was looming over from the sea. Then, he felt like he was stepping on something. Gradually, Risvar realized that he could stand up. He felt like he was stepping on land. Moreover, this piece of land was still floating up. Amon. Risvar was shocked. Soon, Amon floated to the surface with Chen Zhao and Risvar on his back. Although Amon was not completely exposed to sleep. But Risvar still saw Amon's huge and illogical form. Is this Amon? Risvar was dumbfounded. Amon was really too big. He was more than 100 meters long and had many bone spikes on his body. He also had a pair of huge wings. From his form, one could still tell that Amon was originally a killer whale. But Risvar still couldn't calm down. Too big. Amon was really too big. He was unbelievably big. See? I told you that you'd find it unbelievable. Is this really Amon? What kind is he? Chen Zhao wouldn't tell Risvar about Amon's true identity. Risvar kept patting Amon's back, trying to talk to him. Amon was really fast. Chen Zhao was also controlling the water to speed up. This greatly shortened their journey time. Amon's appearance made Risvar even more curious about everything in the spiritual world. Until the Hydra appeared in their field of vision, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.